I could have a relationship with an orangutan without a shadow of a doubt.
Could you?
Well, they're very intelligent creatures, aren't they?
This is TalkSport. We are the two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very good morning to a man that looks slightly less grumpy than he did last time I saw him, Mr. Mike Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Well, a very good morning to you, Mike. That is because I'm full of compassion tonight. Compassion for Prince. How can you die at 57? I mean, it is so sad.
Some people do.
Yeah, but I mean, he was a 57-year-old, vibrant, world-class, iconic superstar entertainer.
Well, I must say, when I read that story...
And he's found in a lift, wasn't
he? In his own home, yeah. When I read a story a few days ago that he was taken off a plane because he was suffering from flu.
Yeah.
And we still don't really know. We'll be talking to a guy over in America later on in the show.
He subsequently did another concert.
Yeah,
he got back on stage. He said, I'm all right now, thank you.
But it was a strange story, I thought, when I read it, that, he's been taken off a plane. The plane's been forced to land, albeit it was a private plane, because he's got flu. So clearly there was something wrong that we don't really know about. We don't know really what the cause of it was.
You know, he wrote that, everybody knows now, but I must admit, I didn't until I heard an expert talking earlier.
I was staggered, right? There was many things that staggered me about some of your tweets earlier on when Prince was,
the fact that he
unfortunately announced to have died.
He wrote that.
You said, I've only just discovered that Prince wrote Nothing Compares to You. I mean, everybody knows that.
Nothing compares.
People have also said, they've asked me, they've begged me. They've begged me that please, in any tribute to Prince, can Porky please not sing any of his songs?
To be honest, I thought his songs were not that singable. They were sort of like rap, you know what I mean? Well, you know that one about when doves fly.
Yeah,
it's like some guy with two sticks banging on the edge of a drum and all that kind of stuff, isn't
it? It's nothing like rap, though.
Well, I mean, I don't know what I'm saying here, really.
No, neither do I.
But in the sense of what I'm saying is they're not flowing songs. They're not like When I'm 64.
What about Party Like It's 1999? Remember
that
one?
No, that's good. Yeah, but listen, I'll tell you about Nothing Compares, right?
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Sinead O'Connor on the stage.
Who?
Sinead O'Connor.
Sinead,
that's the one.
Yeah.
On the stage.
Yeah.
It was the night, Mike, because I was sitting there watching it.
You were there?
Yeah, I was doing it, yeah.
You were in Madison Square Garden?
It was Madison Square Garden, and I tell you what it was a Friday night.
What year was this?
It would have been, I think, about...
Sometime in the mid-80s, maybe?
Oh, I think about 87, 88, something like that. But anyway, I was about to, go out and do the town again on Friday night.
I'm very impressed, by the way, that you managed to turn Prince's death into a story about you.
No, this is about one of his songs.
Even by your standards, this is extraordinary.
No, this is about one of his songs. And I get a call from some jerk in London who was the showbiz editor of the Sunday Express.
Oh, yeah.
So only had 1 day a week job, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he says, can you go to Madison Square Garden? Because Sinead O'Connor.
Who?
Sinead. Sinead O'Connor, who was the latest, greatest superstar, is there tonight. You know, it was an all-star thing. It was a fundraiser, and there were lots of other people there. But they wanted to go and do Sinead O'Connor in particular. And I said, yeah. So I had great seats. I was sitting there. She comes on. So she's about to start singing when somebody shouts something from the crowd.
Yeah.
Because 2 nights earlier, do you remember, she'd been on some TV show and said the Pope was a terrorist.
Oh, that was ages ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
was that in the 80s? I thought it was later than that.
Well, it might have been the 90s, early 90s.
It might have been your second
tour. Could have been 91.
I think it was your second tour.
Yeah, it could have been 91, 92, something like that. Anyway, so she goes off stage, comes back with a picture of the Pope, right?
Yeah.
And then rips it up and throws it off the stage. Well, bearing in mind that half of Manhattan sort of, are dedicated to the Catholic Church, this didn't go down too well, and the crowd started rioting.
Good story for you, though.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was brilliant. Because she never sung the song. That was the whole point. The song had gone there to listen. No, she never sung it.
Oh, right.
So then, for some unknown reason, Chris Christopherson, who I always thought was like an actor rather than a pop star, or was it the other way around?
They must have been really scraping the barrel sending you to this thing. The man who knows everything about music.
Exactly, yeah.
Didn't know Sinead O'Connor's song was written by Prince.
No, exactly.
Thought Chris Christopherson was an actor.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. He rushes onto the stage, picks up Sinead O'Connor. Sinead O'Connor throws her over his shoulder and runs off stage because people are coming on the stage to try and sort of attack her.
Right.
I mean, it was fantastic.
I remember that story, I think that would have been your second tour.
I think it was probably the early 90s or whatever.
Absolutely.
But,
I'll tell you later in the show. I'll tell you another funny story about Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
About a former colleague of mine who was involved with her. They went to interview her.
Oh, really?
And then something else happened. But anyway,
really?
I'll tell you that story later.
Something of a sort of Rogerisation nature?
Indeed, yes.
My God, that's amazing. Did you have a hair shaved at the time?
I can't remember actually.
Okay. Anyway, let's get back to...
I can tell you another story about that as well, if you like.
Okay, that's great. Let's get back to Prince, because it's a terrible tragedy to lose a man like that, isn't it? because he was. I see we described in our news bulletins as singer and songwriter.
Singer-songwriter.
I would rather describe him as world superstar of iconic proportions.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And I actually went to try and see him once in Paisley Park.
Oh yeah.
But unfortunately, I was ejected.
Paisley Park being his Minnesota home.
Yeah, it's Minnesota. Well, he's got a big complex.
Yeah,
there.
I know. Yeah,
He's got a house there, but he's also got this massive studios. Paisley Park Studios and all that. It was a fascinating place because it's an odd place to live for a superstar.
It certainly is. Minnesota
and Minneapolis, which are very kind of white.
Who's the most famous person from Minnesota?
Well, I'd say it have to be Prince.
No, Minnesota Fats.
No, Prince is more famous than Minnesota Fats.
Before Prince, yeah. Minnesota Fats was a pool player, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was indeed.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you'd have to say Prince is probably more famous than him.
Okay.
But before we get into any of that, and we'll be playing lots of Prince's music, some of the other songs that he wrote that you may not be aware of, so I thought I might take the opportunity.
Manic Monday.
Manic Monday was one of them.
But I was very disappointed because, you see, that was my least favourite Bangles song. My favourite Bangles song was "Walk Like an Egyptian." Bum bum ba dum ba bum.
Yeah,
that was a great song.
Yeah. I don't think he wrote that one.
He didn't write that, no. But it was
have you
a great
got
song,
Bangles CD?
I've got the Bangles Greatest Hits, but I never played 2 tracks off it.
Have you got any Prince songs?
I've got the Prince
Greatest Hits
CD. No, I don't think it's his greatest hits. It's one of him on the front with a guitar and a sparkly outfit. You know what I mean?
No.
A purple outfit. He's wearing a purple. So it could have been Purple Rain.
Could have been.
Was Purple Rain an LP?
Purple Rain, what, the soundtrack?
Why? Was it a film?
It was a film,
I say. I thought it was...
You haven't seen that?
No, I haven't seen that, no.
Okay.
Did it have a purple car in it?
A purple car? It might have had.
Yeah, well, I might have seen it then.
Yeah.
Might have seen it, yeah. But he made... Why was he so infatuated with the colour purple? Do we know the answer to this one?
I don't know, but we could ask Lachlan Cartwright, who's a showbiz specialist.
Oh, that's
and we
great.
get him on a little bit later on from New York City.
I just think it's tragic. I mean, what was it? My favourite song of his was "When Doves Fly." Is that right?
When Doves Fly. Yeah.
Because that was massive in the mid-'80s, wasn't it?
You know, it's when Doves Cry, don't you?
When Doves Cry. That was massive in the 80s, wasn't it? When
it was one of the biggest hits of MTV time as well.
That's right. It certainly was.
It was one of those songs that they just kept playing over and over and over.
But the other one was "Purple Rain." I like that. But there was another great one I used to play.
Well, I don't know if you saw my tweet, and I'm going to play you a little bit of it a little bit later on.
Right.
But he performed While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Did he?
With Tom Petty. And a whole bunch of other people. Steve Winwood was in the band. It was one of these Rock and Roll Hall of Fame things. And his guitar solo at the end was literally spine-tingling.
Well, one bit I picked up today, you've probably seen this as well. Eric Clapton was asked what's it like to be the greatest guitarist in the world.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know if that's a real quote.
And he said, I don't know, ask Prince.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a real quote.
I didn't know that he was actually recognised as a genius guitarist. But you told me in Fury one time, when I was doubting Eric Clapton's ability, you said, why did George Harrison drag Eric Clapton into the studio to do While My Guitar Gently Weeps?
Indeed, yes.
Indicating he was the best guitarist in the world.
He was, yes.
So if Clapton then said, no, it wasn't me, it was Prince, that is quite an accolade.
Yes, it really was an accolade. And we've got lots of accolades to come.
We certainly have.
Obviously, a couple of
accolade
stories,
night. Well,
couple of stories to tell. I'm delighted to see you in a better mood than you were last night.
Won't be any accolades for Roy Hodgson. Got a couple of, what's the word I'm looking for? A couple of bones to pick with Roy tonight, I think
we should have. And of course, without wishing to mention the E word, we will have to talk about the semi-final coming up.
Well, it's the most crucial Everton game of my life.
Well, yeah, I know it is.
Walking up Wembley Way on Saturday evening or Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock is going to be heart beating, heart thumping, tense and nervous.
Only 1/3 of your heart will be thumping, presumably.
That's right. Yeah,
and indeed beating.
Yeah.
He's Mike Parry. I'm Mike Graham. Lots more to come on TalkSport. Prince played this.
That's Prince's version, is it?
That's Prince on the guitar, yeah.
Well, that might be one of the few occasions when I've heard somebody cover a Beatles record and make it sound better.
Well, this is one of those super bands. It's got Jeff Lynne singing.
Right.
You've got Tom Petty singing.
Right.
And playing guitar as well. You've got Steve Winwood.
Yeah.
You've got George Harrison's son, funnily enough, appears in it as well.
Oh,
in the background.
What's his name? Davia or something?
I can't remember his name. Yeah. And Prince does the solo at the end. I'll show you the video because it's fantastic video.
Really?
It's really brilliant.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
It's really brilliant. It gives you chills, doesn't it?
Well,
tremendous.
No, it doesn't give me chills, but I mean...
Gives me chills.
Gives me huge admiration for the man's ability.
Well, you have no musical ear, that's why you don't get chills.
I have a fantastic musical ear. Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
I do.
No,
I do.
Don't.
That's why I can tell, the wheat from the chaff, and that's why so much modern music I've dubbed as utter garbage and rubbish, because it is. It's simple as that.
Yeah, now, a lot of people throughout the course of the day on Twitter were, shall we say, admonishing you for your really rather grisly attacks on me last night.
Oh, I don't think so.
Your particularly sort of grumpy mood and some of the things
I got a lot of praise from people saying, well done, Mike, you told us as it was, the most honest evaluation of the situation regarding Everton that they've ever heard.
Well, I don't know whose tweets you were reading. It must be the Porky Tribes people you were listening to. But an awful lot of people were remarking that you were very rude, very sort of rambunctious, very unusual.
Well, I'm sorry you bring that out to me because you're aggressive tone.
I wasn't aggressive at all.
And, you feel that you can poke me with a sharp stick and that all I'll do is recoil. No, I didn't. I smacked you right back between your four-eyed face.
Well, certainly you were very aggressive. There's no question about that. But strangely enough, a few hours later, right, you were asked to go on the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast Show.
To help Al out, my good mate.
Yeah. Let's have a listen to that.
Okay.
It would be very difficult for Mr. Martinez to have the confidence of the fans to go through another season. So whilst I think Mr. Martinez was the right man at the time when Everton came, I think the board will look at the performance this season, just 9 victories, even if we do win the FA Cup, which would be marvellous, and they might say, look, I think we've got to have a re-look at the strategy of what we're doing. Thank you, Mr. Martinez, for winning the Cup. We're thinking now about really somebody who can serve a dual purpose of getting us in the top 6, top 4, and winning something else next season.
Yeah, Jekyll and Hyde character you are.
No. I think that's a pretty goddamn good evaluation.
So instead of shouting at Mr. Brazil, as you refer to him, and instead of calling Martinez, you start calling him Mr. Martinez.
Of course, yes.
So you've gone back to being all respectful to him.
Yes.
Instead of saying basically you want the guy out, you start saying, oh, well, it might be up to the board, it might get us up to 4th. And Mr. Martinez this, Mr. Martinez that.
Yes.
I mean, it's a shocking and utterly ridiculous about face.
I think
face, I would say. That you took part in the morning around about 10 to 10.
I think our millions of listeners will understand that when I have to do it through a barrage of aggression, nastiness and bile that you spray across this show...
There's no bile at all coming from me. I was merely doing the job...
I have to be more...
I was merely doing the job that I'm paid to do, which is to get the right questions asked to the right person.
And then I have to be more prosaic about it, you see what I mean? But when it comes
People do say on a regular basis, isn't it interesting how you're very much more kind of aggressive in your demeanour towards me than you ever are towards Alan Brazil.
Yeah, but you're an uneducated lout.
I see.
And when it comes to talking football in particular, I regard Big Al, as he's known to his mates, as a man who knows exactly what he's talking about in football. He did, after all, play in a Scotland team forward line alongside Kenny Dalglish.
Indeed.
You can't get much better than that.
That's
Therefore,
true.
I have respect for the man's views on football.
So the reason you shout at me is because you have no respect for me. Is that what you're telling me?
I think you're a thick oik on a lot of issues, and I think that I have to really respond in brutal and aggressive terms to some of your nonsensical and whimsical questions.
I see.
They're nonsensical because you don't know what you're talking about. They're whimsical because you try and get yourself out of a hole.
Well, let's talk about something else that you got wrong this week.
I didn't get anything wrong.
Because you might remember earlier in the week we had an expert on drones on the show, right? Have you seen the latest news on the drone?
There are millions of stories on drones every day.
No, the story from Heathrow is that they now doubt that it was actually a drone that hit the plane at all. They now think it was hit by a plastic bag.
And who's told you that?
There's an article in every single newspaper if you care to look at them this morning.
And whose verdict? And
this is the police investigation who are saying there is no evidence that there was an actual drone strike at all.
I see.
And you might remember that I said to you there is no evidence of a drone strike. Nobody yet knows whether it was struck by a drone. So all of this scaremongering that you and the slightly more, shall we say, gutter snipe versions of the British press were scaremongering people all over the place.
Are you saying there is no need for the Western world and the civilised nations...
Yeah, change the subject now.
No, the civilised nations are making up not to be concerned about the dangers that zones present to commercial aircraft.
They're already taking account of that. What I'm saying is stories which are erroneous, which scare people into believing that they're going to be blown out of the sky, which I think is the word that you used, the phrase that you used to our drone expert, even though the plane landed without any obvious damage to it. It would appear that it was all about scaremongering people and making people frightened. when in fact it looks as though it was not a drone at all.
I think the Western world will be grateful to me for raising the alarm, as we call it, in hushed tone circles, about the possibility of a drone bringing down a passenger aircraft, a civilian aircraft. The danger is real, and I'm going to make no apologies for raising the level of concern about it. No apologies whatsoever.
The Air Accidents Investigation Branch is investigating alongside the Metropolitan Police, right? There is now a belief that it was not, the plane was not struck by a drone, according to Transport Minister Robert Goodwill.
Okay. And what was this flying plastic bag doing at 17,000 feet or whatever?
1,700 feet.
1,700 feet.
Slightly lower.
Yeah.
The reported drone strike on Sunday has not been confirmed as a drone. It was a local police force that tweeted they had a report of a drone striking an aircraft. And indeed, the early reports of a dent in the front of the plane were not confirmed. There was no actual damage to the plane. And there is now a belief that it may have been a plastic bag or something else, certainly not a drone.
Yeah, why are you telling me all this? Why do you think I'm interested in
because
this?
you're having described me as an oik, someone who has no opinions that are worth listening to.
Yes.
Most of the things that I say do actually come true. Most of the things that you say are of flannel and cobblers.
No, they're not.
Quite simply.
No. I get to the point of this issue. I've just found something remarkable, by the way. You know, the New Day, the newspaper,
yes.
the new newspaper.
Yeah.
They've actually spotted a good story today.
Oh, they've actually put prints on the front.
Prints on the front, yeah.
Have they described how good he was and popular with women? Is that their line on it? Because normally that's what they say, isn't it?
Life is just a party, and parties weren't meant to last, is a quote from his, apparently.
Yeah, that's from the party like it's 1999.
That's right. Star dies at US home after suffering flu. That's a bit tragic, that, isn't it?
It's terribly tragic.
Most people who get flu don't actually die.
Well, a lot of people who get flu die, though. I mean, whenever we have these, whenever we have these conversations about should you get the flu jab or not get the flu jab, and they talk about new strains of flu coming from Asia and bird flu and swine flu and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Actually, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people die of flu in this country every single year.
Yeah.
Just ordinary flu.
Yeah.
So if you've got like a bad respiratory system, I mean, somebody like you actually is one of those at risk groups.
Oh, I'm at risk. I'm at huge risk.
Because you could die from flu.
Yeah, but
if indeed there was anything wrong with you, which of course there isn't.
Oh, so why was I detained in hospital for 2 days then?
You weren't detained for 2 days.
I was.
You went for 1 day.
Well, it was an overnight situation. So
an overnight situation.
Well,
so that's 2 days then.
Well, it bridged 2 days. Now, what I was going to say to you was this. Do you realise that I've never succumbed to illness because...
You never had a day off work due to illness, have you?
Well, apart from the 7 months that I spent
and that night, fighting
for my life.
And the other night when you were in your 2-day medical checkup
What I
scenario.
was going to say to you is that it's a well-known medical fact that mind over matter can be the greatest medicine you can possibly
well, I would
ingest,
believe that if there was anything
and that
in
is
your...
exactly what I'm all about.
I would believe that if there was anything in your mind that was in any way positive.
Yeah.
But almost everything in your mind is polluted by the poison of ambition and the jealous nature of your kind of personality.
Do you know what the listograph in New Day is today?
Yeah, tell me. 3 things.
Personal listography.
Yeah.
List 3 careers that you would like to try. I mean...
3 careers you'd like to try?
Yeah. What about...
How about running a newspaper?
What about trainee millionaire? Or what do you mean?
Newspaper designer.
I don't know. It's maybe newspaper writer.
Although I suppose you could say, if you hadn't become what you are, a giant of the broadcasting and journalistic pantheon, what would you have done? You'd have been a con man, wouldn't you?
No.
You would have been.
No.
You would have been one of these guys that sort of goes from door to door trying to sell things.
No, I'd have been an estate agent.
An estate agent? Well,
actually,
same thing.
If I'd have been an estate agent, I'd have been a multi-millionaire in my 20s, and that would have been a much easier life.
I very much doubt it.
It wouldn't have been half as...
no, estate agents only started making proper money.
It wouldn't have been half as fulfilling. No, they didn't, actually. I'll tell you what happened. A mate of mine, when we left the University of the Trent, right, I left earlier than him, but he actually got a degree, and then his father set him up to buy an estate agency, right?
Yeah.
Because he had a degree then in urban estate management.
Right.
And
but estate agents in those days were very much more sort of respectable and fewer on the ground, you would think.
It was the opposite, Mike. They were completely unregulated. Anybody could go and rent a lock-up shop, put a few pictures of houses in the window, put a desk in, sit there and say, would you like to buy a house?
Yeah, but I don't remember there being
unregulated.
I don't remember there being a lot of that in the 60s when I was growing up.
Well, I'm just telling you about what happened to my mate. So his dad, who was a successful businessman in the northeast anyway, said, go and buy them. And he expanded that to 6 estate agencies around the area where he lived.
Right.
And then a period of amalgamation took place in estate agencies. You know, a bit like how all the off-license had closed down and the chains all started opening up in supermarkets and all that.
Yeah.
The same thing happened to the estate agencies. That's where places like, Bairstow Eves and all that grew up from and all that.
Folked and Hayward.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody came along and he made £1 million profit. He then went and bought a block of offices. And then the property boom came along, the one that would have been in the late 70s, you know what I mean, before the crash in the 80s.
Yeah.
And he made a few million quid before he was 30. He did extremely well, yeah. I'd have probably done it with him. No, we don't stay in touch. Oh, I don't know, just drifted apart, really. And,
I'm surprised you haven't kept in touch with him because he's one of those people that you would like on the grounds that he's a success.
Well, he's been successful, and I wish him the very best in life, but our paths just went different ways. Now, what I want to talk to you about, really, before we get into the real issues in the show tonight, is Roy Hodgson.
Yes, we've got to talk about Roy Hodgson.
I don't get this thing about Vardy. Why's he going around telling everybody he didn't die?
Yeah, well, we didn't get around to that last night, but we've got time to get around to it tonight, so we will. But I've got a bone to pick with him as well about Marcus Rashford.
Yeah,
so we shall do that coming up. What is going on in Roy Hodgson's head is the question. This is Talk Sport.
It's been 7 hours and 13 days since you took your love away.
That's his own version of it, of course.
Yeah. Did that come out before Sinead O'Connor did her version?
I believe it did, yes.
Did it?
Yeah.
So,
that's a live version of it, though, there.
Oh, I see. I thought he wrote it for her. I thought he met her and thought, wow, we've got a fantastic voice. And
no, I think she
just
just wanted to record it. I mean, he did that for some other people.
Yes.
And wrote songs for them.
Yeah.
But,
whatever, it was a brilliant song.
Brilliant song, absolutely brilliant. Now, a couple of tweets to read out to you.
Okay.
William, to remind your memory, he says it was 1992, the Sinead Pope scenario. So I was correct. It was your second tour of duty, that one.
Yeah.
John says,
sorry, what year was it?
92.
92, you're right.
So just when you'd gone back to Manhattan.
Sure.
Sinead O'Connor, he says, what a plank.
Mm-hmm.
Barry the cabbie, Porky finally admits he doesn't know what he's talking about.
What? I know I didn't.
Well, you said that earlier.
Did I? Okay.
Yeah. I see something interesting about Prince that I heard tonight as well.
He was 5'2", by the way.
He was 5'2", but also he only slept 3 hours a night.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, you see, a lot of great people do.
Yeah.
I'm practicing myself in that, obviously.
I mean, clearly you see many. Well, there's a couple of sort of things you have in common already. You're very short, and he doesn't sleep very much.
Well, not short as Prince.
Ian says this:
5'8" 3/4.
Beware! Oh, are you? I thought you were 5'9".
No, 5'8" 3/4.
Have you lost some height since you
not
lost
at all.
Dr. Banner?
No, not at all. No.
Beware, Porky. Old MG will no doubt throw in an irrelevant question tonight, probably about Freddie Mercury. Says Ian.
No.
As you know, Ian, I do not compile the questions. I haven't seen the questions yet. They are put together by the independent quizmaster.
And can I just make it clear, please, that you put out some sort of daft tweet today saying that the quiz tonight is on the Queen at 90?
No, the two Mikes put out a tweet earlier saying that it was
the Queen at 90. It is not the Queen at 90. It's the Queen, Her Majesty the Queen.
But, I mean, you see, you're nitpicking and constant whining. You start to upset people. People say, you sound like a little girl, constantly crying, moaning, whinging. You know, the Queen at 90.
I don't understand. I have to keep my eye on you because you're such a duplicitous, gerrymandering, oily, slimy slug.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that what you've got to say for yourself?
Yes, I have, yes.
The Queen at 90 is one of many hashtags that was out there today. I know you don't really understand what hashtags are.
Yes.
You know what hashtags are?
Hashtag, I know what a hashtag is.
Well, what is it?
Well, it's a symbol that you put in front of a word to try and indicate to other people that you're talking the same story.
Yeah, but on Twitter, right, it means that if you put the hashtag Queen at 90, anybody who wants to look up what's going on for the Queen at 90 will see every tweet that mentions it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the reason the two Mikes put it out like that is because people who are interested in the Queen will discover that there is a talk sport show on in which there is a quiz about the Queen. Yeah, and they might actually like to watch it or listen to it.
That's your story.
But I don't have control of the two Mikes account except for when we're in here.
Right,
Thomas says this, Bangles' greatest hits, that would take Porky about 3 minutes to listen to.
No, it would actually, because the only one I ever liked was Walk Like an Egyptian.
So you said earlier.
Walk like an Egyptian.
Yeah, you already sang that. Paul Cross says just the 6 different pronunciation of Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah.
Now, Robert says, Eric Clapton was asked what it's like being the greatest guitarist in the world, and he replied, why don't you ask Rory Gallagher?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he didn't say, why don't you ask Prince? But I don't see. I would like to check that
one
out.
The quote I read today.
Yeah, I know, but that was just one of those ones put up on Twitter. You never know if they're true.
Okay, you think it was an apocryphal?
Well, it might be.
Yeah, okay.
It might be. Here's one from Thomas, who says, Porky's got more faces than the town clock.
What?
D says, Porky, you're a two-faced plank. Last night you said you wouldn't slate Martinez while he was manager.
Yes.
5 hours later, you asked for him to go.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. What I said was, I think there'll be a think tank. You've got to remember that, we've got a new owner at Everton. He will have his own views. When Roberto
I don't want
Martinez...
to turn this into another show about Everton.
No, I'm not going to. But there are tweets coming in which are talking about the subject, so I'm just responding. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. Now, here's one from Matt, and we'll close off the tweets at this point, read a few more later. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Mike Graham has got the patience of a saint to put up with Mike Parry and all his abuse.
What? That's a bit hard.
I think that's very fair. Now, let's talk about Roy Hodgson, because you've got a bone to pick with him.
Yes.
What do you mean, yes?
Roy Hodgson.
Yes, you've got a bone to pick with him. You said you had several bones to pick with him.
Right, what happened was, Roy Hodgson meets a load of Fleet Street guys who are known as the number one soccer writers.
Oh, yeah.
So these guys are chief soccer writers, okay? And
why are you saying soccer?
Well, that's what they're called. They're number one football writers, okay? They're chief football writers.
You're not in New York now.
No, chief football writers, right? And they go and have a sit down with Roy, and part of the lunch is off the record, so those stories will dribble out over the next 3 or 4 days. They will, by agreement, decide to put them out on the same day, you know what I mean? They're not trying to do each other in. But then there'll be a bit of...
you mean there's some kind of collusion?
Without doubt. There's an arrangement where...
Which is always the sort of thing that when you're the editor, you get very worked up about, because you go, why can't you give us something exclusively?
Well,
and they won't do it.
It happens in Parliament, it happens in politics, it happens in the lobby.
But is it not also because, and I know this may be obvious to you and I, but because most of these guys move around all the time. I mean, they work a few years for the Mail, a few years for the Times, a few years for the Guardian.
It's because...
So they don't want to stitch anybody up.
Well, it's because they're all trying to defend their own backs. So the collective agreement is, should we do that story on Wednesday, that one on Thursday, that one on Friday?
But what I'm saying is their loyalty is not necessarily to the paper they are employed by.
No, loyalty's to themselves.
Which I think is wrong.
Loyalty's to themselves.
I think that's entirely wrong.
I totally agree. I tell you what I find very odd, actually, on this subject. The number of times I read in one newspaper some columnist who is lavishly praising the work of another columnist in another paper, or with social networking these days, a number of times I see, a football writer for one paper saying, just read so in another paper, spot on, really good.
Yeah.
If I was the editor, I'd call to my office and say, excuse me, why are you trying to convince people to go and buy The Guardian when you work for, another title?
No.
Don't do it. I'm not interested in you praising other people. Just get on with it. Anyway, that's the old school journalism.
Yes.
So what I was going to say is, one of the things Roy says on the record is, I thought Vardy's been hard. Now, I'm sorry, but this is a crude way, bearing in mind that Roy Hodgson is employed by the Football Association, right?
Yeah.
And he is their most important employee because he's the England manager. So he's made it clear publicly that I don't want Jamie Vardy suffering any sort of harsh penalty in the last few games of the season because, of course, he's going to be the mainstay or one of the mainstays of my England squad going to the Euros.
Yeah.
So he's making a public declaration. He didn't dive.
And it seems for the England manager, who should be, whether or not everybody in the real world believes it or not,
neutral.
should be, but also should be above the idea of modern day, cheating or gaining an advantage.
I totally agree.
I mean, even if he goes into the dressing room and says to somebody in the England team, if you can manage to fall over in the penalty area and get us into the final of the Euros, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't want to publicise that.
As long as that doesn't come out, I totally agree between those four worlds. But you're absolutely right. Most experts and observers have looked at that from every angle and said Vardy dived.
Well, there's a tangle, isn't there? There's a tangle.
Yeah, but it's the way he went down.
It's the way that I think what he did was he did one of those wrapping his legs around the other guy's legs.
And then shot off in the other direction.
Yeah.
It wasn't on. He didn't go to the floor naturally. That's the point. And it was like watching an actor.
Yeah.
And when you see exaggerated physical action going to the grass, to the pitch, hitting the earth, you know that there's something very odd about it.
Yeah.
So most experts say no. So for Roger to come out and say he didn't dive, you're absolutely right. Is he then endorsing the idea of simulation? But more to that, he's trying to put pressure on his own employees not to respond in the right way to something they think is corrupting the game.
Because as many people would say, regardless of how you think his comments are going to be perceived, the FA are going to say, well, this is what the England manager said. It's bound to have an effect.
Of course it is. It has an effect because they don't want Roy to be out of sorts, certainly not in the run-up to 2016. It's in everybody's interest, including those who run the FA, to have a successful competition. So let's not start it by having Roy upset by the fact that we've suspended one of the keystone players of the 2016 squad for maybe 3 games.
But do you think also that Roy Hodgson was being slightly clever with his words on the basis that he could say, well, the reason I don't believe it was a dive is that if it was anything, it was, in quotes, simulation, which is not necessarily the same thing.
Well, it is the same thing to me. I mean, it's all about cheating, isn't it? Trying to gain a pecuniary advantage, as you would say in the criminal law. You know what I mean?
Yes, indeed. Now, the back page stories today about Hodgson, we're going to get to in a second, but Vardy's on some of the back pages this morning saying that he's going to plead special circumstances which led him to give such a terrible reaction to the referee when he sent him off.
And we'll beg the FA not to give him an extended ban.
But what special circumstances can he claim?
I don't know.
That he's never played for a team at the top of the league at the top of the league before?
Maybe he's trying to make out that, the season has reached such a peak of stress and tension that he was unable to contain his emotions.
I don't think that's exceptional circumstances, do you? Because everybody's in the same boat.
It's exceptional for him.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That's like saying, I robbed the bank because, I was having a bad day. And I was under a lot of pressure and I needed the money.
Apparently,
still robbed the bank.
Yes, no, that's absolutely true. Apparently, he's going to say, look, I've never been in trouble before. I've never been sent off before. Never caused problems with referees before. I don't think that I should be unnecessarily punished for this one-off. I think that's what he's saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is I don't think that is in any way defensible.
Yeah.
He did what he did. Why don't you just take his medicine and stop it?
Yeah, well, maybe I think that would be the best thing to do, to hold his hands up and say, look, I'm sorry, give me,
punish me in any way you wish.
No, punish me the minimum that you can, and I'll get back into the game as soon as I can and clean my own slate.
Yeah, but he doesn't deserve that.
Eh?
Why does he deserve special treatment?
You're not
thinking straight here.
Yes, I am, and I would only say that I think his past record, which is an impeccable one, has to be taken into account.
Impeccable?
Yes,
really. Prince song?
Yeah, actually, that sounds better than I remember it, to be honest.
Really?
That sounds very good.
Oh, it's a nice little song. It's going to be a manic Monday for us, isn't it?
It is going
What's
to be
happening for us on Monday?
Manic Monday this week?
Yeah.
We're going to start a 2-week stint on H&J.
We are.
Between 1 and 4 daytime rather than 1 and 4 at night.
Don't forget, because you might have a very excitable weekend with the FA Cup semi-finals. I don't want you kind of, raising yourself from your torpor at midday on Monday, thinking you've got all day to plan for the show. Because you need to be here by then.
Last time I got up at midday was probably when I was about... No, in fact, I've never got up at midday. Never.
Really?
I've never been in bed till midday.
You never had a long lie?
Never. I can't stand people who lie in. I mean, you're just wasting your life, completely wasting your life, lying in bed when the sun's come up and there's things to be done in the world.
Is that right?
I can't stand people like that. I had a mate once who didn't get up until 6 o'clock on a Sunday once.
Really?
And he went around boasting, and that was it. I just got rid of him. I'm having friends like that. Lazy, idle, no good, wastrel.
Well, I've sometimes had a lie until
patheticos.
12 o'clock. It depends what I've been doing the night before.
Well, yeah, but you probably haven't gone to bed until 6 or 7 in the morning, which is a different story altogether.
All right.
But
now,
I can't stand people who lie in.
We've got Stephen Caldwell to talk to in a second about all the massive football games coming up. Now, let me just read you this, though, from Mark. He says, Vardy was sent off against Kidderminster in 2011 and nearly broke, he doesn't say nearly broke, I presume he needs a leg of Nat Knight Percival in a promotion game.
Well, all I would say is I think he's played something like 40 consecutive games for Leicester, since their winning run started in March last season.
Yeah.
And he hasn't even been booked, I don't think. And he certainly never been sent off in the playing for Leicester. in whatever division he's played for them in, and including the Premier League, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think on that basis, considering he is...
Are you making a plea for leniency on his behalf?
Well, I don't want to see the boy beaten up, for one outburst of anger, which is what he had. And that must have been, he exploded after... Just imagine all the stress and the tension of being the leading man in the Premier League, or contesting to be the leading man with Harry Kane in the league all this season. And I think he just blew up, and I think a bit of compassion should be shown.
All right, well, that's unusual.
And I also think it would be shocking for Leicester's...
somebody who you've described as a cheat for diving.
He is, but most footballers do that these days. Most footballers do it.
So you want compassion for a cheat, in other words?
I want compassion for a boy who I think is caught up in the football culture and involved himself in it to the extent that every other footballer does. And I just think he made a mistake. I'm not in any way defending simulation or cheating, but he made a mistake. I don't think he should be overly, battered around the head. And the other thing is...
Well, let's talk to somebody who's got a bit more involvement in professional football than
idea.
You. Mr. Stephen Caldwell, who's over in Toronto. Stephen, a very good morning to you.
Hi guys, how are we doing?
Yeah, very well indeed. My apologies for the delay in getting to you, but it's very difficult to keep Mr. Parry. Very difficult to keep Mr. Parry quiet. What's your view on the Vardy situation? I mean, he's saying that he's going to ask for exceptional circumstances to forgive him in a way for what he did in that game last weekend because he doesn't want to get too long of a ban. What do you think the FA should do?
Look, I think that it was disappointing what happened last week, and I think I said on my Twitter account that it was probably the most negative thing I've seen for Jamie Vardy this season in terms of, he's been so positive and going for things and taking opportunities, and he deserves to be sent off in my opinion. But it's something that we've not seen from him. It's not really in his personality, I don't think. And I think by accepting the charge and accepting that he's done wrong, then the FA should look at it like that, and I think hopefully we just keep the one match because.
So you wouldn't give him another match at all. You wouldn't even give him two.
No, I wouldn't give him two. I would actually just leave it at one. Give him a head.
Yeah, I would as well, Steve. Steve, I think you're right, and I think you've hit on something here, Steve, which people have not considered. If this was, for instance, Robbie Savage during his career, when he was a constant irritant, and feigning injury, grabbing his face. I think he's the most booked player in the history of football or something like that. A persistent offender. Then I would say, right, we're going to bang you to rights now because you're an irritant and you get on our nerves. But old Vardy, young Vardy, whatever you want to call him.
29 he is, isn't he?
29 he is, yeah. He doesn't have a track record of giving referees problems or of disrupting games by bad play or by hurtling himself into tackles and injuring players. And I totally agree with you. I don't think he should even be given another one-game extension.
Yeah, I agree. I think the first booking was a little bit harsh. I think he was exuberant, like he plays.
Yeah, I totally agree.
He was always sort of on the edge.
Yeah.
And then the second one, like I say, he was wrong. He sort of tried to deceive the referee, but it was an isolated incident and a fantastic season for the guy. And
that's right.
I think by accepting the charge and said, you know what, I'm holding my hands up. I did it wrong. I did something wrong. And,
yes.
I think that should be.
But the one match ban, though, surely the one match ban, guys, is for the act of simulation, right?
No, it's not. It's for 2 yellow cards.
Well, right, but it's not what it's not for.
Yeah.
It's for his reaction afterwards. What this extra game ban may well be for is for the reaction that he gave to the referee.
That's what he's been charged for. That's what he's been charged with.
But that's what I'm saying. So what you're saying is that you can do that to the referee and get no punishment. He hasn't been punished for that.
Well, Steve, I would suggest that if Jamie Vardy apologised to the ref and said, look, I'm sorry, it was heat of the moment and all that kind of stuff, I agree with Steve Caldwell here. That should be sufficient for the football authority to say, OK, fair enough, it's a one-off. What do you think, Steve?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, guys. I actually think that, he's accepted it. I think he should get a hefty fine, and he'll accept that. I'm pretty sure he'd rather a huge fine than missing any kind of games, and I think that the one game suspension will be enough. It's a critical point in the season, and the guy's been an absolute shining light in the Premier League all year, and I'd like to see it be one game again. Maybe I'm just speaking with my heart here and hoping that he's available for the remaining fixtures, and he gives Leicester a great chance to obviously go on and win the league, or at least have them at full strength to see if they can achieve that. Which
I totally agree.
Completely phenomenal. I just hope that it's the one game and they say, next time we're going to throw the book at you, but this time we'll accept your apology and we'll keep it to the one game.
But that's the interesting thing, isn't it? Because we don't know how Leicester are going to play without him, and what effect his not being there will have on them. And so when they play,
I'm really worried, guys, of Leicester without him, because I think that they need his pace and his in behind. What he brings to that team is crucial. And as good as Mahrez and Kante and Morgan and who all the guys we could go through their whole team are, I think he's the one guy they really miss, because he stretches teams, and him and Drinkwater have this great understanding, and they play that kind of cultured long ball forward for him to get onto. And I'm worried. Joe, as good as he is as a substitute, he cannot bring that side to the game, and I feel that it's really going to affect him if he misses a number of games.
Right. Yeah. Now, the other big story, of course, this week, I suppose you would say, was the drubbing that Everton got from Liverpool in the Merseyside derby, which Porky's still recovering from. They've got the FA Cup semi-final against Manchester United this weekend. Now, Roberto Martinez, on the back pages of the papers this morning, it's being said, basically, if Everton don't win the FA Cup, he's out.
Yeah, well, I sincerely hope not. I worked with Roberto for a year, and I know how good a coach he is and how good a manager he is. So I think he'd be fantastic for that club as well. And I know there's a lot of apathy there for the supporters towards him, but I think he's a tremendous young coach, and I hope they keep him. And the question I would ask is, if they are going to replace him, who are they going to get that's better? What direction are they going to go in? And if they don't have a clear change of direction and a clear path that they're going to go down, why change it and why take that chance,
Well, Mr. Parry, you may have an answer for that, right?
An answer to what?
Well, what Stephen just said.
Well, I mean, look, Steve, the point is, isn't there a pivotal moment now in Roberto Martinez's life, and this is the FA Cup semi-final at 5:30 on Saturday evening. Win or lose is going to be a massive difference in the way that Everton Football Club, his employers, are going to respond to his tenure as manager. Yeah,
I absolutely agree. It's a real turning point for him.
Yeah, of course it is. And for the club, if he wins, they can't possibly say, well, thanks a lot, but now we'll have somebody else take you to the final. And then if he wins the FA Cup, then, you see, the thing is, the difference here is, Steve, Everton will have a new owner by the start of next season.
Yeah.
And if Mr. Mashiri decides, I want to do it my way, that's going to be Mr. Martinez's problem.
Yeah, absolutely. But the question that I'm asking is that, where are Everton going to go? What if this guy's got a new vision and a new path, and they want maybe a grittier, tougher guy, maybe a Sean Dyche or whoever, I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what I'd do, Steve. I would ring up Ronald Koeman, who's in charge of Southampton, and the only blip he's had this season...
And they'd say, you mean Ronald Koeman?
And the only blip he's had this season was when he had his leg in plaster and he couldn't get around the technical area, and they had a few problems. But he's a terrific manager, isn't he? I'd go and find him. Or maybe I'd go and ask Chris Coleman, who's done such a brilliant job, for Wales, whether he wanted to come back to club football or something like that. But at the moment, I support Everton. Roberto Martinez is the manager. He has my full support as long as he has the support of the board.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we haven't got time for Stephen to answer now because we're completely out of time. So you've completely gerrymandered the entire conversation again.
You're just prattling on your nonsense.
Well, I'm going to bring you some details on Jamie Vardy coming up next. What do you mean staying with somebody?
Well,
do you mean the New York Welcoming Committee?
I'm not going into it, and I would ask you not to introduce.
Listen, after the abuse that I've suffered,
crude generalisations into my former life, okay?
Your former life,
yes.
After the abuse that I've suffered over the last 24 hours, I think I'm perfectly well entitled to throw some back at you, to be honest. And loads of people, by the way, have sent in lots of tweets about Jamie Vardy and how he is not the character that you've painted him. And in fact, he's had 4 yellow cards this season already.
Yeah, but he has been in the Premier League. No, I didn't say that. I didn't. I said he had no red cards.
You said he had no yellow cards.
I said I don't know how many yellow cards he's had.
I'm telling you, he's had 4.
Well, he's not been banned, has he? So he hasn't had 5 yellow cards.
You should be banned. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mites. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, and this will be, although we didn't make it that clear, I suppose, although hopefully most people know, this will be our last night show for a while. For 2 weeks. The next 2 weeks, we're doing H&J. It's still 1 till 4, but it's in the PM rather than the AM.
That's right. So if you're on the other side of the world, instead of listening live, you might now be downloading the podcast.
That's very true.
Because you may well be in bed when we're doing 1 till 4 daytime. You told me
let me just read you this from Stevie in Motherwell.
Yes.
Why, Mike, do you always refer to Twitter? You never mention anyone on a text, or do they not count? Well, Stevie, the thing is, we get hundreds and hundreds of tweets throughout the course of any show.
That's right.
So we tend to do more tweets than we do actual text. But feel free to send in a text. But to be honest, if it hadn't been for your text that said, why do you not always read the text out, I wouldn't have read it out. But try and send in something a bit more interesting.
Who do they send the text to?
They send the text to 81089.
Right, there you go. Text to 81089, please. We will read those out with pleasure. Now, you told me a very interesting story about Prince.
Yes.
We've got to obviously talk about other things in the show, but just to sign off on Prince, tell me this interesting story, please.
Well, I got
Share it with our millions of listeners.
I got sent out to Minneapolis, where I hadn't been before, I don't think, to find his half-sister.
Right.
Because a local paper had done a story on her, and she looked exactly like him. She was almost like a twin.
Bit like Janet Jackson and Michael Jackson.
Very similar. I mean, very, very similar features, very, very similar stature, same build and everything else. Looked exactly the same. And it turned out she was a crack addict. And she was living in one of these terrible housing projects.
Not a good future.
Because even in Minneapolis, which is a very kind of Midwest, sort of very clean, sort of what you would describe as a vanilla town.
Sanitised.
Very sanitised. They did still have a bad part of town, and that was where she lived. And we managed to find her. And I was doing this story for the News of the World back in the days when the News of the World was, still a paper.
Yes.
Back in the sort of, I guess, mid-'80s or something like that.
Big selling.
And we took a load of pictures of her, took her up to Paisley Park to try and meet Prince, because she said, he's my brother. And I think they had the same father.
Right.
He's my brother, but, he's got loads of money and I have no money. And she was a very good-looking young woman.
Yeah.
But obviously
Did she look like a crack addict?
She didn't really, no.
She wasn't raddled?
She didn't look particularly raddled.
Right.
She looked older than she was. She was only about in her mid-20s.
Right.
And she looked about sort of 10 years older.
Yes.
And we took her out to Paisley Park, but he wouldn't see her. He wouldn't answer the door.
Was he there?
He was there, yeah. We knew he was there.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, we knew he was there because that was we'd got some information from somebody who worked with him or something like that.
And Paisley Park presumably has got all sorts of security gates and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, you might see pictures of it on the news. It's like a big, massive complex, and it's outside of the town. And his house is down the road, and Paisley Park, the studio complex, is.
And how long were you with this woman?
We spent about 2-3 days with her.
So
and we did a big spread on it. We did like a double-page spread. I think we did a 2-part series on it.
And did you have lustful thoughts for her?
Well, not particularly, no.
No, I mean, you just said she was very good looking.
She was, yeah. But I mean, being a professional journalist, I didn't immediately
that's never
assume.
Stopped you before.
I didn't immediately assume that anyone who was the subject of a story. No, absolutely not. No, if you're dealing with somebody who's the subject of a story, you would not get involved in Rogerisation.
Rubbish. I don't believe you at all.
I don't think I've ever done that.
You see everyone you ever come across as a potential sex conquest.
No, not true.
No, not a victim. I'm not saying that you are you prey on women. I'm saying that you eye up every time I've ever been with you and a woman's come into the company. I've just seen, by the way, they've already dived, and it was a dive. Just seen it on an internal monitor there again, because people are talking about what we've just been talking about, where we lead others
but you
follow.
Don't want him to be punished, though. Now you can see him swearing. Well, except they have to blotch it out because
you do swear.
Horrendous.
Getting back to the Prince thing, sorry. So anyway, so you presumably gave this lady some money.
We paid her some money.
Yes, exactly, for the story and all that kind of stuff.
If say for example, in a moment of madness, I decided it'd be a great idea to sort of woo this woman.
Yeah,
she's a
you've
crack
done it
addict.
before.
No, I've never done it to anyone that was the subject of a story.
Well, I'm not sure about
that.
I'm sure I could disprove that.
I don't think you can find any evidence to suggest that was the case.
I just can't put my finger on it.
Certainly, when I was a travelling reporter, there were many opportunities. Shall we say?
Yes,
but I would that would be unprofessional.
The thousands of opportunities just being in America, man.
That would be unprofessional. But also, I mean, you'd have to think about it. I mean, if somebody who's a crack addict, clearly, maybe consulted with the wrong kind of people.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
But she was a very lovely girl.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you said that.
But I don't even know if she's still around. I don't know if she's still alive.
Don't know if she's still
Prince
alive.
basically would have nothing to do with her. And to be honest, I don't really blame him.
She might turn up at Prince's funeral because, of course, the problem is that
there might be fights over what monies he's going to leave.
This is what I'm saying. Once somebody Michael Jackson was $300 million in debt when he died, and his estate is now worth $1 billion.
Yeah.
And that old hackneyed expression about death, good career move, is absolutely true for these people.
Well, already, I think I was listening to a news report coming into work. Already, his sales of his music have rocketed.
Shot up. Of course, they're bound to, and it's so easy to buy one of the records these days online. Now, listen, talking about that, because I wanted to talk to you about this.
Yes.
The Music Rich List is going to be published this weekend. Oh, yeah. So already you're getting leaked stories.
Is this the Sunday Times thing?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Music's Rich List and all that.
Oh, I saw the one on Adele, who's now made 85 million or something. Right?
Yeah, but it's not Adele who amazes me. Do you know what amazes me? The Irish girl, what's her name? Enya, yes. 91 million quid.
Yeah, I know, amazing, isn't it?
I mean, the only song of hers I've ever heard stuck in my head was Orinoco Flow. About that great waterfall.
My ex-wife was a big fan of hers. She'd only made, I think by the mid-90s, she'd only made about 3 albums, but we had them all. They were constantly being played at my house.
I mean...
This would drive me mad.
And was every song didn't have any words in it?
They were mostly instrumental. They would be sort of like Orinoco Flow had vocals, but they were very much sort of in the
that's right, didn't it? Go away, go away, go away.
Well, it wasn't instrumental, was it?
Da, da, da. That's right. But what I'm saying is...
Go away. It's a very good sentiment, that.
Yeah,
why do you go away?
Yeah, that's funny, do you? Honestly, I'll tell you what...
I thought it was Sail Away,
yeah,
anyway.
Sail away, that's right, yeah. But you're amused.
I don't mind how you go, just go.
But here, listen, let me just read a few of these to you, because it absolutely astonishes me the way that people accumulate wealth in the pop business. So top of the... Well, it just does, because it's all the numbers game. I'm going to suggest at the end of this that if you and I set up a Simon and Garfunkel type operation instead of a radio operation...
Two people that hate each other.
Well, no. He was somewhere today. I saw a picture of him on Twitter with somebody.
Paul Simon or the other one?
I think he was with Jeremy Vine. I think I saw him in Jeremy Vine's studio. Yeah, Paul Simon, yeah. But anyway, here, listen to this, mate. So right at the top of the list, Sir Paul McCartney. But now it's Sir Paul McCartney and Nancy Chevelle. Oh, yes. Because she comes from a very wealthy family. Her father's a millionaire trucker.
Business,
yeah, that's right, yeah. So
why is she part of the music rich list, though? You know, I mean, he's not going to go doing the old Linda McCartney playing a tambourine thing, is he?
I don't know. It says Sir Paul or Yoko sitting on a stool blindfolded with bits of cards saying, think, breathe, walk, and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, he's worth 760 million. I thought he was worth that about amazing, 2 years ago.
Well, I can't even imagine that kind of money.
Well, that is $1 billion. Yeah. That's $1 billion in American terms. Right. Second, Lord Lloyd Webber, 715 million. And he's always moaning about the fact that his theatres aren't making enough money in the West End because of taxes and all that kind of stuff, OK?
Right.
Third, U2, 500 million. Now, I think Bono alone is worth about 650 million.
Yeah,
because,
I think he is.
You know, he bought very shrewdly a share of some hedge fund a few years ago, which mushroomed into
Was it not Facebook? I think he was involved.
Was it the hedge fund that owns Facebook?
No, I think he actually bought shares in Facebook.
Did he? Okay.
And so when Facebook went public in some way, and the share price rocketed, he made overnight some ludicrous amount of money.
Good luck to him. I like successful people, as you know.
So you keep saying.
Sir Elton John, 280 million.
Yeah.
Sir Mick Jagger, 235. Anyway, it goes all the way down, right?
Yeah.
I mean, talk about death, and you don't like to. George Harrison, of course.
That's all you ever talk about.
No, hang on. George Harrison is no longer with us.
Yeah.
However, Olivia, his widow, and his son, Darnie, who we were trying to remember the name of earlier.
What's his name?
Darnie. Dhani. It's an Indian name.
Yeah.
Olivia and Darnie Harrison, 220 million.
Yeah.
Okay. And her father, is not even here. I mean, it's amazing. Ringo Starr, who some would say is the luckiest man in the world because he was replaced as... he was introduced as drummer in the Beatles just before the Beatles actually started making money.
Yeah.
He's worth 200 million. And then Michael Flatley, 198. He deserves every penny of that, Michael Flatley. He invented Riverdance, didn't he?
He did.
And then go down, all the obvious names, Sting, Eric Clapton, Rod Stewart and all that. But, some that leap out and hit you in the face. Sir Tim Rice, 150 million.
Yeah.
Now, Sir Tim Rice was a lyricist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think he wrote music as well, didn't he? Not in his partnership with Andrew Lloyd Webber, but I'm sure that he would write music as well.
I've never been able... I saw Sir Tim Rice in the boardroom at Arsenal once, OK? Yeah. And I asked him the question I think I've told you the story before. What comes first, the words or the music, when you and Andrew Lloyd Webber get... And he says, well, actually, it doesn't work like that. It's a combination. So what I'm saying is, if Sir Tim Rice...
So he dismissed your question as a kind of question of an oath, in other words.
No, he didn't. He said it doesn't work like that. He said I might have...
Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing to somebody like Sir Tim Rice to put you down like that, isn't it?
He didn't put me down. He explained to me how songs are written. For instance, Piers Morgan once told people that the way, Lionel Richie, Dancing on the Ceiling, he told him how he wrote songs. He said, it starts off with me tapping my finger like this.
Who, Lionel Richie?
Yeah, on a bit of wood.
Right.
He said, and Depending on the speed I tap it, I get a rhythm in my head.
Yeah.
He can't write music, like Paul McCartney. He can't write music. So he then has to sort of go home and ring up a mate, and he says, listen to this. And then somebody puts it into music form. Then he writes some words. Very odd. Brian May.
Why is it odd?
Well, because that's how music evolves, and you think when...
Well, I think lots of different people evolve music in many, many different ways,
you're right.
don't they?
I'm sure you're right. But like Mozart actually wrote it down, didn't he? Quavers and all that kind of stuff. You know
Quavers?
What I mean? Yeah, not
Crotchets.
the things you eat. Crotchets and quavers and all that.
Yeah.
But anyway, look, go...
See the time, by the way.
Charlie Watts is
See the
120
time.
million, the drummer for the Rolling Stones. Don't worry about that. John
I'm worried about
Deacon...
the time.
Wasn't John Deacon the drummer for Queen?
Yes.
Yeah, 100 million.
Yeah.
And then right the way down, Enya, as I said, 91 million.
Yeah.
And Adele... who's only been around a few years.
85, yeah.
But that's an increase of 35 million on what she was worth the year before.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
That's very good indeed. Well, she's got a new album out. Now, we're going to have to stop, though, because otherwise we're going to have no time to do anything else.
Stop in the name
stop
of
singing,
love.
for heaven's sake. This is Talk Sport.
Are you wasting my time? Are you just being kind? Oh no, baby. Love isn't blind. Are you wasting my time? Are you just being kind? Don't give me one of your lines. Say what you mean, what you
Now, you can tell that's a
What
Prince
song
song,
is
can't you?
that?
That's another Prince song that he wrote for somebody else.
I don't think that's very good, to be honest.
You don't like that?
I think it's a bit drippy. I mean, it doesn't
Drippy?
seem to have much character to me.
Okay.
What do you think?
Can you recognise the singer?
Is that a man or a woman?
just being
It's a woman?
The woman.
Yeah, I reckon that's Madonna.
It is Madonna.
Is it?
Well
Yeah,
done.
Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
you have got an ear for music
Yeah,
after all.
maybe I have, yeah.
Now, a couple of tweets to read out to you.
Okay.
One from Kevin. Was Porky out with his pal from Wetherspoons, Tim Martin, today?
Yeah.
He was just on BBC Question Time and sounded bladderated.
Well, I knew he was on BBC Question Time and he's complaining about tax on beer, which I heartily agree with him. He wasn't bladderated because he's not a huge drinker. He's not even a big drinker.
Yeah.
Remember we saw him on the train once to Birmingham?
Well, you always say that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you didn't introduce me to him.
Well, I went up to speak to him
Yeah,
because
but when
I
you
felt...
say, you remember we saw him
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
train, like
yeah.
we saw him on the train together. No,
yeah.
we didn't.
Well-
he came on the train. You scurried up behind him to go and say hello to him.
Yes, I
because
did.
he's a man who's been very, very successful, so he thought you'd sort of ingratiate
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
But you didn't actually bother to introduce him to the people that we were with.
Well, that's because I was dealing with the negotiations to get him on our show.
How did that go?
Well, it would have gone well, except that we then decided on a new career path.
Oh, we did. Didn't we?
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely,
actually,
yeah.
I had completely forgotten about that.
Now, listen, you know that I'm growing a reputation as being a great TV reviewer,
But before Porky Vision, you mean?
Yeah, Porky Vision,
Yes.
that's right, yeah. But let me tell you this. There was a programme the other night. I caught a bit of it and then decided I didn't want to watch it. It's had the worst reviews of any programme ever shown. And it's because it was about caravans, right?
Caravans?
But it wasn't about...
Well, people love caravans.
Well, I hate caravans.
no, but the people who are into caravans are absolutely fascinated
Yeah,
by
but
them.
get this, Mike. This wasn't about, showing you a caravan and how to go on holiday with it and all this.
Right.
These are saddos who actually take part in caravan driving competitions.
Caravan driving?
Yeah.
What, you mean like racing?
Well, it's worse than that, So, right, the next test is you've got to back your caravan around a load of cones, backwards down a runway.
It's just on a runway.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, caravan racing actually would be great
Yeah.
fun. I would do caravan racing.
Well, you'd kill yourself because it turns if your caravan goes over, so does your car.
Yeah.
This is one review here. It says, this programme did not work. It was an ill-judged as a barbecue weekend at Skegness in February. No one regretted it more than the chairman of the Caravan Club, Greville Chamberlain, who was watching on to demonstrate the best way to tow a van up and down a muddy slope, but ended up ripping the bumper off the back of his deluxe chalet on wheels.
I suppose it would have limited appeal, but they could have been a bit more imaginative with it. Because I've never actually driven a car with a caravan towed behind it.
Yeah.
But I have driven one of those, motorhomes.
Sure.
Because I told you I got one.
Yeah,
of
you
those
told
for
me
free.
that, yeah.
And
But-
when I took that into various places where the caravan club
Yes.
have these places where you can park up for the night.
Yes.
People were literally knocking my door down to come inside and look at it because they wanted to see what it was like inside.
I tell you what, mate.
And they were like, I see you've got the Fiat SB65
Oh, honestly.
X. I said, I've no idea.
It is so funny.
I didn't know. They'd given it for free.
It's so funny. You're absolutely right. Well, sometimes when I walk on the Solent, right, I have
You
to
walk on the Solent?
I walk on the Solent. Yeah,
That's a pretty good
not
trick.
on the water. I mean on the.
What, you mean like Dynamo?
No, on the
do
pebble.
you put planks underneath?
On the Pebble Beach,
Yeah.
which runs alongside the Solent. But at one time, I want to cut in land and visit a rather nice hostelry, which I think you've been to with me.
Really?
Yeah, it's called the the Bun.
The Bun?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's something Bun. I forgot now. I go there all the time. What's it called?
You don't know what it's called?
It's in Leon Solent anyway.
Right.
And I
don't think I've ever been there.
And I have to.
I've been to those pubs like the one you tweeted out last weekend, the Jolly Roger, which you made some crass joke about.
That's right. Yeah.
I've been to
Sounds
the
like
place where we had dinner
it?
where they had the Robin Schönhofer lookalike.
That's right. Yeah, that was.
But I don't remember Leon Solent going anywhere there.
Spice Island Inn. No, he did. Honestly, the Bun Penny. It's called the Bun Penny, and we did go there. Right. Now, so I got in, but I have to walk up along a lovely little river and through through a campsite which is designed specifically for motorhomes, right? And, you see all these losers playing, like, badminton outside their motorhome caravan and all that kind of stuff. But if you pass a table where they're all sitting there, the only thing they're talking about is, old Fred, you don't believe it. He's got an updated X13336 six-wheeler. It's got an overlapping cabin above the, the driving seat.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of caravan envy going on.
Absolutely. Another guy's now got a digital TV with an aerial on the roof and all this kind of stuff. It's all like
Hot and cold running water.
But these are the caravan things. Listen to what it says here. Caravan of the Year. That's what the programme's called, Caravan of the Year, because this is how to drive a caravan. Look to good idea in the brochure. Family adventures in sardine can on wheels, part of the Great British Childhood. Unless you're terribly posh, chances are some of the happiest times of your school holidays went there. But the producers of this programme had no idea how to evoke that atmosphere. They tried a cheesy soundtrack, the likes of Swingin' Savari and Herb Albert's Spanish Flea, then invented each couple to give us a guided tour of their prized vans, with the camera zooming in to capture every knick-knack and Formica service of their tiny sinks and even tinier showers and toilets. Oh, forget it. I couldn't bear it, could you?
No, I missed
like
that
being
one.
on one of those longboats. What are all these weirdos who live on longboats on canals?
What do you mean? Do you mean what canal boats? They're not called longboats.
They're
are
not called longboats, are
No,
they?
they're not. Narrow boats.
Narrow boats, that's right. Narrow boats. I mean,
Longboats are what the Vikings came
that's
to
right,
Britain.
That's true. That's true.
If you lived on a longboat in the middle of a canal, I think people might start asking questions.
What civilised person could live in a narrow boat?
Well, I used to know a guy who was a sub on the Daily Express, who I think had a checkered history, shall we say, with some of his relationships.
Yes.
And he ended up living in a narrow boat somewhere down near Chiswick. And he said it was great because basically you don't pay any council tax, you don't pay, all sorts of other things that you would need to otherwise do if you were living in a home. And if you needed to move the thing, you could just move it, and he could take it on holiday with him. And he was happy as a clam, as they say.
It's like living like an itinerant.
I don't think you would like it because it'd be damp a lot of the time.
Oh, I'd hate it.
But I mean, when we go to Dingwalls, which is right by Camden Lock,
that's right.
There's people who live on narrow boats, and it's because it's such a beautiful part of London.
Yeah,
you're in Primrose Hill, effectively.
Yeah, I know.
And you're living right in Primrose Hill.
And believe it or not, they have little chimneys on the top of their boat, and the smoke's coming out. They have live coal fires inside and all that kind of stuff.
They do. Now, I've got to read you a couple more tweets coming out. Matt says, why don't you try and write a song by tapping the plank next to you in the studio?
What?
That was earlier on.
Yeah.
And Duncan says this, and also, is it Duncan? Yeah, and also somebody else has said this. Roger Taylor was the drummer in Queen. John Deacon was the bass player.
Oh, of course he was. Yeah, that's right.
Now, this from a disgruntled feminist. Why does Porky always have to lower the tone when women are discussed by being sexist, expecting others to be unprofessional, assuming they would all act as he would? No. Does he have a problem where women are concerned, always bragging of his supposed success and appeal to the female population?
Well, I'm sorry, but I can't help what I am. It's as simple as that.
It's very true.
I am what I am. I'm the middle-aged equivalent of a babe magnet, and I can't help that, That's just so happens. Yeah. And if you think that I talk about women in any way other than admiration and respect, then I apologise. But that's how I mean it to come over. Admiration, respect, and dutifully.
Now, how about this one from Ray in Glasgow?
Oh, yeah.
He says, hi, guys, Prince's half-sister was called Lorna Nelson, which is right. That's exactly who she was.
the woman you saw.
And she died in 2006.
God, that's 10 years ago, Mike.
Yeah.
Our life flies past at a hell of a rate.
I didn't know that she died, I don't think.
Well, her brother's died now. They'll be reunited in heaven.
Yes, exactly. Here's one
from...
he
wouldn't open the doors of his house to her.
We have a couple of interesting listening destinations tonight.
Yeah, go on.
Martin from Solihull is listening in China. He says, great to listen live to the witty chat more so than the podcast would in the UK.
Excellent.
And also, we've got a guy who's in Moscow at the moment. I think
Moscow!
He put some pictures out earlier of a bar he found with an Everton scarf in.
He did, indeed.
In Moscow. I'm surprised you didn't find that.
What was the bar called? Was it called the Fleet Street or something?
It was something like that,
Something like that, the Fleet Street Bar or something.
I'm surprised you didn't find that.
Well, it wasn't there when I was last in Moscow.
Well, it looks like an old
call
bar.
it Moscow, don't they?
Moscow, yeah.
Moscow. They pronounce the C-O-W as cow.
Well, that's like
not
they say
cow.
Paris, France.
Yeah, Paris, France.
As opposed to just Paris.
I'll tell you a great one I saw.
Well, we've got time.
I'll tell you in a minute then. It's
All
a
right.
great one. It
Because
really
coming
is a
up, we're
great
going to go over to New York, actually, and talk to our man Lachlan Cartwright, who's going to give us the latest on the Prince story. This is Talk Sport.
No one looked. I walked by. Just an invitation would have been just fine. Said no to him again and again. First he took my heart, then he ran. No one knows how I feel, what I say, unless you read between my lines. One man.
You know this one, don't you?
Is that Stevie Nicks?
It is.
There you go, you see.
And this was the song Prince wrote for her.
I recognise his
It's
voice.
a great
her
song,
voice
actually.
anywhere.
It's
Yeah.
Very, very, very good song.
Yeah, excellent.
Now, it's very timely as well because,
Okay.
as shocking as it was to hear the news late yesterday afternoon that Prince had been found dead at the age of 57, it now turns out that we still don't really know precisely what happened.
No.
So we're going to talk to Lachlan Cartwright, who is with, we used to be with the New York Daily News, now with Radar Online, to find out what the latest news is. Lachlan, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
Thanks very much indeed for joining us. We haven't spoken for a while, Lachlan. It's still a bit of a mystery what happened to Prince. I mean, we know about the incident on the plane when the plane was diverted and it landed. He was taken to hospital suffering from the after effects of a flu bug of some description. What's the real story as far as we know?
Very sad and very shocking news. Look, I have to be honest with you guys. There is much more to this story, and it's going to take some time for it to come out. Look, we all know that someone of this age doesn't die from the flu, and he had a very complicated medical history, particularly in the last couple of months. What I can tell you from our sources is that he had been frail. He had not been seen in the daytime in public for some time. He did manage to put on a concert over the weekend. Even at that concert, my sources tell me he was not to the ability that people remember Prince. So, look, it's very surprising. It's very shocking. We had heard some very some matters about Prince.
Well, Lachlan, can you share those with us? Because obviously you've teased us a little bit here, and you're saying it wasn't flu; it was something else that he's frail. Reports of. Could you share a few of those with us, please?
I probably don't want to go that far at this stage until the family and everyone else has a little bit of time to I guess digest what has happened. But I can tell you that he was suffering from a very serious illness. He was receiving treatment for that. Our sources tell us up until last night he was at a Walgreens, which is a pharmacy, taking medication, gaining medication, a number of different drugs for that. And look, I have to be honest with you guys, until we get a little bit more information, certainly from the authorities, it'll only be then that we'll be in a position to properly assess what's going on here. But it's an absolute tragedy.
Of course.
Another great musical icon.
Lachlan, am I wrong in thinking that when the incident with the plane had to land and he was treated on a temporary basis, has he not appeared in public since then on a stage doing a concert?
He has. Yeah, he did. He did appear at the concert. You're correct. You've got to bear in mind, a lot of these musicians have the right amount of prescribed drugs to go ahead and do on a 2-hour show.
Yeah, I see.
The thing with things like the flu, if you've got an immune system that is significantly lowered or vulnerable, things like the flu will take attack. All I can say at this stage is that multiple media organisations, including ours, are pursuing a story out there that is very deep into his current health status, which wasn't good.
Let's move on from that. One of the things that that has happened, we understand, certainly, probably not just in the United States, but here as well, is that people have been buying his music in massive numbers. Not just like the usual, what you would say, the kind of the bump in the graph that you get when an artist dies, but I mean literally by the millions.
Incredible. Well, he was a very savvy operator in that if you go on now and try and search him on YouTube, you can't find most of the classic hits. And that is because he was very aggressive in making sure that people would pay for his music. So we're going to see a massive uptick, similar to how we saw with David Bowie after his death. We're going to see a massive uptick on people going onto iTunes and other streaming paid services to buy his music. And it's going to be an incredible element where we see people rediscover his music and other people discover it for the first time. And similar to David Bowie, he continued to reinvent himself as an artist. You've got to remember that, when he started out, many people didn't recognize his true brilliance. But towards the end of his career, he was an absolute superstar.
What effect will this have on his record company, Lachlan? Because sometimes when a guy like this dies, sadly, everything implodes. It's all gone.
Well, not in his case, because very smartly, as I was hinting at before, he owns all the properties, everything.
Right.
So all of that goes back into him.
So this huge spread he has in Minnesota, is that literally the Prince Empire?
That is the Prince Empire.
That's his studio. Sorry to interrupt. That's his HQ. That's his studio. That's everything. I mean, he never agreed with the LA. He never agreed with New York. He wanted to always be based in Minnesota, and that whole huge estate where we have reporters at tonight. That was his studio. That was his base.
And all his business advisors would be there, would they? Crunching all the figures every day and all that kind of stuff.
Correct. I mean, he had a very small, trusted entourage around him, and that's why it's going to take at least, I think the next sort of 3 or 4 days to really seep out what happened here. But he had a very small, trusted team of people that he relied on.
Amazing.
Most of those people were based close to him there.
And what would be the sort of the main recipients of his estate? I guess we won't know that for a while. But does he have kids? I mean, does he have close family members that? I was telling Mike a story of how I found a half sister of his many years ago who apparently has since died back in 2006. Who was a crack addict and who was never, really sort of acknowledged as being part of his family. Is there going to be a kind of a dispute of any kind over some of the money that he's going to leave?
I'm sure that he had, based on the source information that we've had in the last 24 hours about his health, I'm sure he had a will ready to go. He was, from what we're hearing, in pretty grave health. Look, there are a number of people nominated in that will, less so family members, more so trust and confidence. He had obviously a number of ex-partners over the years.
I don't think he had kids, though, did he, anywhere?
No, he did not, no.
Yeah, that's amazing. What will happen to the consequences of the records he wrote for everybody else, Lachlan? Will that all revert back to his estate? This old expression about, death, very good career move. Will that be... We've talked about the upsurge in his records already, but presumably his wealth will mushroom enormously.
Massively so. And there's only a few artists who have been savvy and smart enough to realise this. And in, the latter stages, people like Taylor Swift, who have rebuked the likes of Spotify, who realize that keeping control of your artistic license, your music, means that this is, a personal license. He will very much, after, his sad passing, he will benefit, and those nominated will benefit from that.
Sure. Maybe he could have taught the Beatles a thing or few in the past.
Oh, totally correct. And look, guys, I've been obviously covering this story all day. I've just returned from a dinner and a quite popular celebrity restaurant all night playing his classic music. We went to a bar afterwards all night, back to back, Bowie, back-to-back tracks from him, and it is quite remarkable.
Absolutely.
It really is a remarkable story. Lachlan, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us. Lachlan Cartwright there, giving us the lowdown on Prince. Sounds like there's a few more things to come out over the next few days or so. He's executive editor of Radar Online.
Lachlan would go as far as to say is that people with damaged immune systems are susceptible to even things like flu. You get a damaged immune system if you've got some kind of illness, some kind of
that could
disease
happen.
or something.
Absolutely, that can happen. We'll find out more about that, I'm sure, in the coming days and weeks. We've got lots more to do, though. Porkyquiz time coming up very, very shortly. It's on the Queen, because she is 90, of course, although it's not a quiz on the Queen at 90, because that would be in some way wrong, apparently. This is TalkSport. There's another one of Prince's compositions.
Yes.
Performed by somebody else. You recognise that one? We might be able to hear the chorus, maybe. You probably recognise it because it was played an awful lot. I think it might have been around the time you were in New York, actually.
Who was that?
Chaka Khan.
Chaka Khan, of course, yeah, Chaka Khan. In fact, I knew that because I read it today that he'd done that.
Yeah.
I got 2 out of 3 right. Listen, I want to tell you...
Well, hang on, before you carry on
Yes.
with any more of your bluster.
Yes.
Bluster? Your bluster,
Do you mean my informative dialogue?
Yeah, no, bluster.
Yeah,
there's a couple of things I need to mention to you. One, about the death of somebody else a bit earlier on this day, which was the PG Tips chimp.
Oh, it was terrible.
The last one. Choppers, I think his name was.
Yeah.
Apparently he was 48.
Exactly. It's a great age for a chimp,
Played
isn't
during the TV hours. I'll talk to you about that because you haven't mentioned it yet, right?
No,
I know there's been circumstances. But
Yes.
did you see a very interesting story that I thought of and made me think of you?
Oh, yes.
It was in the papers yesterday.
Oh, really?
About a girl who basically conned her parents
Yeah.
out of £250,000.
That's disgusting.
And do you know how she managed to do that?
No.
She told them that she was going to Oxford University.
She's going to Oxford University?
Yeah. And it struck me that that's the kind of thing...
What, you mean she didn't go?
No, of course she didn't.
Yeah,
she didn't go anywhere near
Well,
it.
that's disgusting.
Now, I remind you, as I would do as a QC, I put it to you, Mr. Parry, that you told your parents you were going to Oxford. You went to Brasenose College, so-called, for an interview, right?
I did.
You said you stayed overnight.
I did.
For 2 nights.
Yeah.
Did you tell them at any point that you were going to Oxford for real?
Of course not, because I decided to go to the University of the Trent instead.
And did they fund that for you as well?
No. My dad had a good accountant, and in those days, the government actually used to give you a grant to go to university. You didn't have to take out a student
loan. Why
loan.
did your dad have an accountant?
Well, I don't know.
People didn't have accountants in those days.
Well, he did. He was kind of self-employed, and he used to sell all sorts of things, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And
this is the sort of thing you would do, though.
I got a full grant.
You would con your parents out of 250 grand if they had that kind of money.
No, I wouldn't.
By saying you were studying at Oxford.
No. I mean, my fellow wanted me to go to Oxford. He probably would have paid that to have got me to Oxford, but it wasn't for me. Because when I went to Oxford and did the interview over 3 days, it was for a course.
I thought it was over 2 days.
Well, it was 2 nights, 3 days.
Right.
See, you get
So
there on day one.
It's like your 2-day medical.
No. You get there on day 1, you stay overnight. Then you do day 2, and you stay overnight. And you do day 3,
I
and
never
you
went
come
to
home.
any university interview that took more than about an hour.
Yeah, but you never went to an interview at Oxford, did you?
Well, no, I didn't. But
It
neither did you.
is the elite academic academy in the world.
Yeah, you didn't get in.
I chose not to go there.
Oh, really?
And
Did they not offer you a place?
It was irrelevant because I said to them I wasn't interested, thank you.
After 3 days?
Yes.
Well, what made you think you weren't interested?
I met a load of the lecturers and they were all bonkers.
Really?
And I decided it wasn't really the place I wanted to go.
Well, I thought you'd have fitted in perfectly.
Now I'm not going to respond to that. Now, the course that I was doing was the same course that David Cameron, the Prime Minister, a man who's been in this very studio with me.
Yeah, but you didn't do it.
Got a first-class honours degree, and it was called PPE.
Yeah, but you didn't do it.
I decided not to do it. It's
Why
called
not?
Politics, Philosophy,
But
and
if you'd
Economics.
gone to Oxford University and done a PPE, your life would have been completely different.
I thought it was worthless. I thought it was absolutely
Well, you were wrong
worthless.
about that, weren't you?
And
Instead, you decided to go to Trent Polytechnic
I went to the University
study
of Trent.
urban estate management.
I went to the University of the Trent.
I mean, that beggars belief that unless you were forced into that position, you'd be somebody that would do that.
I have seen
Anyway,
a report.
I want to tell you
Oh, yeah, yeah.
this girl who swindled her own parents out £250,000
and told them she was an Oxford University student.
Yeah.
I mean,
she
didn't
basically spent
didn't
all the money on
figure
trips.
out that she wasn't actually very bright.
Well, she was very bright because she managed to con her own parents into believing that she was a student at Oxford, when in fact she was spending all the money on drugs and expensive trips abroad.
Well, actually, I spent all my grant because I got a full grant, from the state.
Yeah.
Didn't have to borrow money. I spent all that on drink.
Yeah, well, that's a terrible waste of taxpayers' money.
No, it was good. It was great. I used to go.
Well, it's great for you.
Used to go to the old trip to Jerusalem and get bladderated on a regular basis. Used to get in there about 5 and leave at 10.
This poor couple ended up losing their home.
Oh, that's terrible. That is disgraceful.
So she's been sent to prison. So I just want you to be careful about these stories that you tell
I think
and this tangled web that you weave.
I think that's
because one day you'll be caught out.
I think it's actually shocking. But
Larry the liar.
Can I tell you something? How long have I been telling you that people go to university and get these worthless degrees these days? And in fact, they should just go out into the world and start working, like I did, OK? I decided after 1 year...
you should spend the government free money for a year on drink and then just give up?
It's what people did in those days.
Is that your advice?
That is exactly what I did, actually, funny enough. In fact, really, I should have been made to pay it back because I wasted the government money on a year of drinking, playing snooker, playing darts... chasing nurses around the nursing home in the park in Nottingham and didn't do any work. Yeah. Because I decided it wasn't for me. But the report I've read in one of my educational journals said that lots of degrees these days are absolutely worthless. Yeah. The graduates who get them come out of university after 3 or 4 years, can't get a job, and find themselves 3 years behind their pals from school who came out of school and went straight into work. Okay.
Yes.
Men who studied at any of 23 of the lowest performing British universities went on to learn less than those who did not enter further education. Right?
Yeah.
So,
this is now a government kind of aim, isn't it, to try and dissuade so many kids from going to university.
Well, why have they got so many universities then?
Well, that was the fault of the Blair government because they combined,
it was outrageous.
Their idea of getting the numbers. I think because when I went to university, I think it was something quite small, like 10% of the population that went.
Yeah.
They got it up to 35%,
something like that,
because they wanted more people to go.
It was ridiculous.
But now the government's worked out actually sending more kids to university isn't necessarily the answer.
No, it's. I'll tell you something. Take Bournemouth, where my family lived. Right.
Yeah.
Now, when my sister first moved to Bournemouth, she lived on quite a pleasant housing estate. You know, 4-bedroom detached house, and a load more in a little cul-de-sac and all that kind of stuff.
How did she manage with only 4 bedrooms?
Oh, I don't know, because they moved obviously a few years later and now live where they live, where you've been.
Yes,
which you would agree, it's a very nice house.
It's a very nice house.
Right now,
with lots of ensuite bathrooms.
Exactly, yes, 7 actually. But anyway, so at the end of their road, so to speak, there was Bournemouth Technical College.
Yeah.
Okay, and I suppose a couple of hundred kids went there every day. That is now Bournemouth University. Yeah. There are 10,000 students.
Yeah.
They've
got a massive journalism school there.
Massive journalism school. They've expanded it, and the area it's built on, by a factor of times 10 or times 12, I think.
Well, do you
they've
not
bought
think...
up land all over the place, and they've built this massive university, churning out kids to do things that nobody will employ them to do.
Yeah, but you know why that's happened? Because not least because of the sort of ideological reason that Blair wanted to get all these kids into university. They worked out that this was a massive business, and so now the universities are actually run as massive businesses.
They are, yeah.
And so the more people they can get in, the better,
and
they get more money.
Not only that, I mean, there were unemployment problems when Blair first got into Downing Street. So, the Chancellor, Gordon Brown, who nearly bankrupted this country with his amazing fiscal policies, decided, I know how to keep people off the dole queue. Oh, how do we do that? We'll build lots of universities and call them students.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was, I tell you what, we'll build lots of hospitals. We won't pay for them. We'll put that in private finance initiative.
Yeah.
And then we can send a lot of people to these hospitals and keep them off the dole queue. Yeah. Oh, how do you do that?
And charge them all to park their cars there while they're in.
That's right. You call them disabled, or you call them too ill to work, or they've got backache or something.
Yeah.
So they don't register as unemployed.
Yeah.
So we've got loads of people called students, loads of people called unfit to work.
Yeah.
Dole queues will shrink. Politics is a
con
vile
job.
and filthy business.
Which makes it even more remarkable that you never went into it. It seems to be a perfect situation for you.
I'm going to ignore that. Let me
we
tell
haven't got time.
You have very, very quickly.
I've got a message I want you to read out.
Oh, okay.
But not quite yet. Very,
Right.
very shortly.
Okay.
It's a special request.
Excellent.
And I want you to practice your French.
Oh, I don't need to practice my French.
This is Talk Sport.
Ooh la la!
It does conjure up sort of walking down the banks of the Seine, that, doesn't it?
That actually conjures up to me, Hello, Hello.
Yeah, I know that, but it's meant to be a
TV
bit.
series.
Yeah, but it's meant to be a bit more sort of romantic. than that.
I love Paris. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, Paris, France. Now,
France.
we got a message sent to our email account at the2mics.co.uk.
Yes.
From a guy called Dan,
Yeah.
who's over in Canada. Let me just read you this.
Okay.
He says, "My name is Dan. I'm currently residing in Ottawa, Canada, by choice, I might add." He says, "My girlfriend Stephanie Barbeau, who's French-Canadian, is an avid listener, and I got her hooked last year on a 15-hour drive to Nova Scotia and back for her friend's wedding. She's turning 27 on April the 23rd, which is this weekend, of course,
Yeah.
and it would make her day to receive birthday wishes from the pair of you. If Porky could do his best French accent, a la hello, hello, rolling his R on her surname, it might even get me a bit of Rogerization.
Oh, come on. That's
Best regards, Dan."
It's a bit close to the knuckle, isn't it?
Well, it's his words,
Yeah.
not mine.
Okay, he says
So do you
thanks,
think you
gents, as
could
well.
wish Stephanie Barbeau?
I certainly can. Mademoiselle Stéphanie Barbeau.
Sorry.
Tu es ma chérie et je crois que c'est vous êtes la belle femme en Canada.
Are you going to use this in the Euros? When you
No,
go over
no,
there?
no. Et Stéphanie, je crois tu es la belle femme et ma chérie en Nord America. Je vois.
You must have done well at the Rugby World Cup in France.
No. Happy birthday, ma chérie, pour avril 23. Dimanche, Saturday, dimanche.
Samedi is Saturday.
Samedi.
Dimanche is Sunday.
Hang on. Okay. Samedi 23. 23 pour Stephanie Barbeau. For Stephanie Barbeau.
Babu.
Yeah.
Hey, Babu.
Yeah. Et
You don't have to do it for any longer than this.
no,
you know?
no,
Why
no,
are you doing
no.
it? Why are you still saying the same thing?
Et Monsieur Graham et moi, nous avons une tasse de thé et gin and tonic avec beaucoup d'ice to celebrate.
Surely you mean
Okay.
a tank and tonic. Well, all I would say to Stephanie is a bon anniversaire, Stephanie.
Bon anniversaire
have
as
a
well.
very nice birthday.
So there you
thanks
go.
for
How's
sending
that?
in.
Is that
I think
good?
that was fine. I think they'll be quite happy with that.
By the way, so I'll tell you what I was going to tell you. You
Yeah.
just said there, Ottawa and all that kind of stuff. I read it was either in the Times Diary or the Spectator Diary. This is the very American thing. You know, this guy goes to a hotel in New York and he's checking in, and the guy behind the desk is ever so enthusiastic. The fella's European. And the guy says, good evening, sir. How can I help you? And where have you come from today? And the guy says, Athens.
Right.
Athens. Oh, great, Athens.
Athens, Georgia?
No. It was. Is that Athens, Ohio, or Athens, Missouri?
Right.
And the guest says, no, it is Athens, Greece.
Right.
Oh, you got one over there as well.
Athens, Georgia. That's where REM comes from.
Oh, is it? Is that
Bizarrely.
right? What, REM the group?
Yes, REM
Yeah.
the group. What do
Yeah.
you think? REM the, military manoeuvres
That's
company.
me in the corner. That's me in the... that's the guy.
Porky sounds more like the guy who asked for some
Michael
spare
Stapes.
money this afternoon.
Michael Stapes.
Michael Stipe.
Stipe.
Yeah. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later. Plenty of appreciation for your French there.
Thank you.
Steve says, was that Porky talking French or singing Alphabet Street by Prince?
No, it was me talking French. And Becky, our old friend in New Zealand, says, Porky est un nouveau assassin la lingua française planquée. I think she's calling me a plank.
Yeah, I think so.
In French.
Peter says, no need to bother with clips of the week. Just play the last 5 minutes of the most painful broadcasting in history.
What was that?
Well, that was your French, I think.
Oh, well, Pete says, the most sense I've ever heard in ages. Porky's French. Great show, lads. Well done. There you go. You see, I love these compliments.
Sheba says, Mon Dieu, I think I prefer Le Chanson. This book will help mon ami. And then she sent you a cover of a book, which is Easy French Words, my first sticker book.
My first sticker book. I love that. Andrew says, Porky talking French sounds like he's having a seizure.
Yeah.
Call an ambulance, quick. Yeah.
And here's one from Jay in Romford. I think it's fair to say our friend in Canada isn't getting any Rogerisation after that pathetic attempt at French from Porky.
I thought it was rather good.
And toi, from Simon in Sheffield.
Yeah.
Say no more.
Baz says, so Porky spent his uni time bladderated. Perfect preparation for a career on Fleet Street. I would say that's a very accurate summary, actually.
I think it is,
wouldn't
actually.
you?
It is, yeah.
I mean, to be honest, most of the time you couldn't make sense of anything in Fleet Street unless you were completely bladderated.
Well, I think that was true of a certain time, which we both occupied.
It was. It was such a. It was. It was such a weird world. Well,
Well, I think part of it was it not? Was that there were so many people working there.
Yes.
That for large portions of the day you weren't actually doing anything.
Except being in the pub.
Well, I mean, I've told you the story many times when they brought the old, time and motion people in.
Yeah.
The consultants, management consultants,
That's
into
right,
the Express.
yeah.
And they couldn't understand why there was a table for the photographers. And the photographers in those days, there was probably half a dozen of them,
That's
even
right.
then, including your old friend John Downing.
Yeah, John,
and,
award-winning.
Or Downing, as he became known, right?
Downing, yeah.
And they would all be sitting there chatting away, drinking tea or whatever. And occasionally popping up and down to the pub.
That's right.
And these guys said to the picture editor,
What do they do?
Mr. Jukanovic, he said, why are the photographers all sitting around doing nothing? To which he said, well, what do you want them to do? And he said, well, shouldn't they be out taking pictures of something?
Yeah.
And he said, well, what do you want to just send them out randomly taking pictures around London?
That's not a bad idea.
Well, it's not a bad idea,
Yeah.
but I mean, most of those pictures would then never see the light of day.
No, I totally agree.
Because the point is if then something happened and
yeah.
they needed to be dispatched somewhere,
Yeah.
they couldn't. They'd be in the wrong part of town.
Totally agree. But of course, the system's now changed that you don't have any photographers anymore.
No photographers employed.
You
in
have agencies which take all the pictures.
Yeah.
I
wanted to ask you about the Queen because
Yeah.
after your
Okay.
performance last night, which a few people were sort of making derisory comments about
About
why is
what?
he standing up for the Queen?
why not?
To
Yeah.
wish her a happy birthday and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
Did you watch any of the Queen's celebratory walk around, drive around Windsor?
Yeah, somebody's got a picture of me walking on the Solent. How about that?
Yeah.
That's good, isn't it? You
Yeah.
see?
It's not real, though.
I presume that's Domino.
It's not real. Yeah.
Walking on the Thames or pretending to. You know what happened today? Just as I was about to sort of mop up, how the day had gone for the Queen and her birthday.
Yeah.
Prince sadly died.
Sadly.
And yeah, well, of course it's sad. And at that moment, I didn't have any interest in the Queen at all.
Yeah,
to be
but
honest.
most of it was going on kind of just before midday or just before 1 o'clock because that was when I watched
Yeah,
it.
but I normally.
I emerged from my slumbers for the first time at about sort of 12ish.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, I was around from about 9:30.
Yeah, well, that's because you don't sleep. Though.
No, I don't sleep, and I had a
Also,
lot of
you have a
work to do.
2-hour start on me.
Yeah, I was in and out and had a lot of work to do.
Really?
And I sat down to take up the news around about 4 o'clock, Sky News and Sky
So
Sports
you missed
News.
it, in other words.
No, I didn't miss it really, but I mean, a lot of it was
Well, I'll
so
tell you what you
predictable.
missed because I thought of you.
very
no, actually,
predictable.
it wasn't very predictable. It was very nice because they had
Oh, I thought it was
a
nice,
lovely
yeah.
interview with the
Yeah.
woman who won the Great British Bake Off.
Yeah.
Who made the cake.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah,
And she
huge
was-
cake, yeah.
And she was sort of full of the joys of spring, having
Yes.
met the Queen.
Yes.
And it was a good interview with her. But Joan Collins was on the. Kirsty Young was anchoring it, which surprised me.
Right.
Because I didn't expect to see Kirsty Young in Windsor, sort of as the
She's a
royal
Republican.
anchor. Well, not necessarily
No.
that. It's just that I didn't think that she.
I didn't
was,
know she was still broadcasting, to be
Well,
honest.
she does Desert Island Discs now, doesn't she?
She used to do the breakfast show on Talk Radio.
Yeah, yeah.
When-
she
before
used
we became Talk
Well,
Sport.
she used to go out with a friend of mine years and years
Really?
ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the point is, I didn't expect to see her. But then Joan Collins was on, and so I immediately thought of you because, of course, you've got that picture of you
I
and
have,
Joan
yeah.
Collins,
I
which
have.
we've never seen.
Well, I mean, I don't have to show you every picture I've got.
Well, you've never shown me any pictures.
I have. I've shown you plenty of pictures.
I've not seen any pictures of you with anyone.
Anyway,
Anyway, she was very charming.
Yeah.
Looked very glamorous.
Yes.
And was talking in very sort of glowing terms
Yes.
about her encounters with the Queen. And
Well, I mean,
it was just a great kind of thing to watch. And I'm not particularly in favour
Yeah.
of these events normally, but when you watch them, it makes you feel sort of slightly ridiculously proud to be British, I always think.
Why is it ridiculous to feel proud to be British?
Well, it's not ridiculous to feel proud to be British.
You said slightly ridiculously proud to
Yes.
be British. I
but
don't feel ridiculous. I'm very proud to be
But you
British.
see, as usual, you don't listen to what I said.
And I decry people
You
who've
don't
tried to pull our
You don't
country
listen
down.
to what I said. Why does everything have to be so black and white for you?
Well,
You're not
because-
listening to what I said. I didn't say it was ridiculous to be proud to be British. What I said was, when I'm watching something like that, it makes me feel slightly ridiculously proud to be British because it's only actually a lot of pomp and ceremony, but it's rather nice pomp and ceremony.
Well, you should have said
And so
it just
what-
makes me feel very proud to be British. There's nothing ridiculous about it at all.
Well,
I'm
I
sorry.
think it's slightly ridiculous because
it's
in
not.
the end, it's just about sort of something which is happening before your very eyes, which is really nothing happening. It's just a couple of people being driven around in a rather snazzy open-top Range Rover.
Yeah.
But it was just I just felt rather warm and fuzzy about
And
it.
so do I, and I feel like that all the time. And I hate people who have decided on their lifetime mission is to smash the British way of life to pieces. They'd like to get rid of all our heritage, all our history. They'd like to sort of get rid of the countryside, get rid of country villages, get rid of the old towns that we have, pull down all the thousands of years of tradition we've got in this country. People
What are you talking about?
People who hate their own country, people who hate England, hate Great Britain, hate the United Kingdom, and yet they were
Well, I
born
don't know why
and
you're
brought
suddenly
up
going
here.
off on some kind of rant about
No,
that.
I am, because they're around everywhere. They say, we've got to change the face of Britain all the
Well,
time.
no, but that's my point. They weren't around yesterday.
Thank God for that.
What was around yesterday was a rather interesting.
Well, I
kind
think
of,
it's very good that the presence of the Queen shows that there's still a massive silent majority who want the way of life that we have to survive and to endure and not to be changed into something somebody else wants us to be.
Okay.
I mean, that's all that's how communism works. We don't want it here.
Now, talking of the great British way of life, how about this from the great American way of life?
Right.
From David, who's tweeted this. Can you please let Porky know that Jake Arrieta just threw a no-hitter for Chicago Cubs against the Cincinnati Reds? Very rare. That is true.
What
Very
is
rare
that? What
indeed.
is that, sorry?
You don't know what a no-hitter is. How long did you live in America for?
About 6 years altogether.
And you don't know what a no-hitter is in a baseball game?
I don't care.
You don't care?
Yeah.
You never went to a baseball game?
I did. I went to see the Yankees all the time.
Did you understand it?
Yeah, I did. I loved it, actually. We used to go on a Sunday, and it goes on for so long. There's people walking around with trays of beer, so you can buy one every 20 minutes. You can have a choc ice. You can eat
A choc ice?
Yeah.
I don't think they sell choc ices at Yankee
Well,
Stadium.
yeah, the equivalent. And no, I found
Or a
it
hot dog?
Yeah, well, I don't like the American hot dogs, you see, because they're savoury. I prefer the sort of hot dog you get outside Goodison Park football ground.
What's the difference?
Well, the difference is the American one is big, thick, savoury thing. Tastes like
Savoury?
Tastes like salami. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what it's meant to taste like.
No, it's not.
a Frankfurter.
Yeah, but I prefer the English one, which tastes very bland and of nothing. It tastes like plastic. Actually.
You like things to taste of nothing.
Well, I prefer the
Ladies and
English hot dog.
gentlemen, well, no wonder you don't like cooking.
Well, that's a different story
Did you see
altogether.
what I cooked yesterday, by the way?
I thought that looked actually quite good because what was the magic ingredient?
Well, I decided I'd use your rosemary for
Thank
something.
you very much.
that
I gave you a tin of
You gave me
rosemary.
a small packet of rosemary.
It wasn't a packet. It was a carton. It was
Well,
a
it
tube.
wasn't- no, it was a little
tube.
a tube.
Tube.
Very well
Give
put.
you a tube of rosemary.
Which cost probably around about 25p. But I just thought since I've
Does
got
it
some,
matter what it cost?
Well,
I gave it you.
It's I mean, I've given you many presents in the past couple of years,
all
which
trash and
you've
rubbish.
thrown on the ground and claimed that they weren't expensive enough.
All trash and rubbish, mate.
But no, I just thought I'd use a bit of rosemary because I make this very nice Tuscan chicken stew with pasta and lots of vegetables.
No, it looked very nice, actually, I have
it
to
was
say.
very nice, and the rosemary sent it off to a treat. So thank you.
You see, my problem would be, unless the meat is absolutely lean, not 1 ounce of fat on it,
There's no fat on it.
I couldn't eat it.
I use chicken breast.
Okay.
There's no fat in it.
Yeah, all right, that's all right, yeah. Well, I thought it was a Tuscan stew.
Yeah.
Well, shouldn't a Tuscan stew have, like, beef and meat in
Tusks in it.
No, you idiot. Shouldn't it have beef and meat in it?
No, it has got meat in it. It's got chicken.
Yeah, I don't regard chicken
I also
as
put a
meat.
little pancetta in it as well to
No,
give it a little extra flavour.
that's poultry. Meat,
Well, you don't think chicken is meat?
A meat stew normally evokes brown meat, cubes
Brown
of...
meat?
Yeah, cubes
of brown. If it's gone brown, I've told you, you shouldn't cook with it.
No, of course.
It's meant to be pink.
No.
Or red.
No, by the time you've cooked it and soaked it in gravy, it's brown, okay?
I don't soak it in gravy.
Well, I do. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
No, they haven't, no.
Right.
No, it's in the Lake District. It's dead. It's
Right.
dead somewhere, yeah.
Well, how do you know it's dead?
Well, it hasn't shown up for 3 weeks
Well, you
now.
see, like my doubting of your story about the drone, I suspect that it's just gone north to get some action from some of the female eagles up in Scotland.
It could be. What are you going to tell me?
Now, a couple of things to tell you.
Yes.
One question from a guy calling himself Iceberg.
Yes.
Have you ever used, this is a question to you, have
Yes.
you ever used any of Prince's songs to set the mood for Rogerisation?
Yes.
Have you?
Yes.
Which one?
When
doves fly.
When doves cry.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
definitely.
Okay.
I think that's a incredibly erotic sort of record.
Erotic?
Yeah. Yes.
He rode around on a motorbike in it, didn't he?
Yeah, he did actually. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, and all the Purple Haze stuff. I mean, he was seen.
Purple Haze?
Yeah, all the I wanna see you, Purple Haze, Purple Haze, Purple Haze. No, that's the way it went.
It's Purple Rain.
Oh, Purple Rain. That's
Purple
right.
Haze
Yeah.
was Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, that's right. It was. Yeah. Now,
Sounded very different.
yeah, I mean, he was seen, although he was only 5'2" tall, he used to wear Cuban heels.
He did.
He was literally
Bit like
seen.
himself.
Yeah, he was seen as a sex god, wasn't he?
Well, he was.
Because he was lithe
Well,
and all
what
that
did you
kind
see
of
what he
stuff.
did to Sheena Easton? I mean, Sheena Easton, who left this country as a kind of rather what you might call mousy, sort of plain young woman.
Sort of naive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spent a bit of time with Prince.
Yes.
Suddenly she was this kind of siren.
Yeah, that's right,
And
yeah.
turned into this, leather trouser wearing,
Yeah.
sex goddess.
Well, we won't speculate what they got up to. Listen, I'll tell you what I want to talk
There's
to you about.
one other thing I want to mention to you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go on.
Because a couple of people have tweeted this in and
Okay.
texted it in. And this one is about someone else who passed away today, the iconic American female wrestler Chums, Joni Laura, who was aged 45. She was both with the WWE and the TNA Wrestling Company.
Yeah.
She was the first woman to hold the Men's Intercontinental Championship in the WWE.
Yeah.
Now, you might not be that familiar with her, and I'm not necessarily either, but apparently she's a very big name in the world of wrestling.
I'm very sorry to hear that because it's very sad when somebody dies at that age. How old was she?
45, yeah.
45. But I have to say, I totally disapprove of women's wrestling or women's boxing. So whilst I have every sympathy for the lady, and she had a living to earn, and she obviously very successful at what she did, I've got no emotional tie with women wrestling or women boxing. I wish they wouldn't do it, to be honest. It's not sexist.
No,
I just don't
of
like
course
to see it happen.
Nothing to do with that.
Listen, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you
You
about,
wanted
mate.
to talk to me about birds, right?
Well, this is amazing. I've come across this book. People send me these books, and it's called The Genius of Birds.
Yeah.
And they really are incredibly bright creatures.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a...
So bird brain actually is a misnomer.
Well, not in every case, because the bird with the lowest brain has got the lowest IQ has got the biggest brain, and that's the the old Roadrunner one. What's it called?
Roadrunner?
Emu. The emu. The
What?
emu. The emu. Emu's a bird.
Emu?
Yeah, the emu.
You mean emu?
Yeah, the emu.
Like as in Rod Hull?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's got a big brain, but it's got very little IQ. Anyway, the point of the story is this. When I was a kid, right,
Yeah.
about, 12, 13, I used to deliver papers.
Yeah.
And it used to be freezing in those days. The climate has changed, but that was in the north of England. It used to be like
What do you
-2,
mean?
-3.
It used to be freezing.
And
It's
what
still
ha-
freezing.
And what happened was...
It's going to snow at London Marathon.
Oh, yeah, I think it is, yeah. And what happened was the milk on the doorsteps would freeze
Yeah.
and the milk would push up through the gold top.
Yes.
You've heard of Benny Hill's,
Or the
gold
silver
tops.
top.
Silver top.
Or the red top.
Or the red top, the blue
Yeah.
top, or anything like that.
Yeah.
But the birds would get there the evening before it froze overnight, and they'd peck the silver away.
Yeah.
If there was
they peck holes in it, wouldn't they?
yeah, peck holes in it, and they start drinking it all that because they knew they couldn't drink it the following morning because it's frozen. Now, you won't believe this, but what this book has found out is that in 1921 in Southampton, actually a town called Swailing near Southampton.
Swailing.
Yeah, the locals noticed that their milk bottles on the doorsteps were being ripped open every morning, and this
Yeah.
was birds, okay?
Yeah.
Do you know that within 3 weeks, that phenomenon spread all over the country, and ornithologists now have found evidence that the birds who started doing it in Southampton managed to convey that through talking to other birds all over the country, and by word of mouth, by bird word of mouth.
Bird word of mouth.
Yeah, literally, it spread all over the country. So that one little bird in
Wasn't it
Southampton...
more to do with the fact that there was milk on every doorstep all over the country?
Of course, but one little bird in Southampton discovered by pecking through the silver foil on a milk bottle, you could get free cream and free milk to your heart's content.
Yeah.
He then told his mate or her mate, they then told somebody else, and by word of bird mouth, it spread all over the country within 3 weeks. And suddenly you had an epidemic in this country of bottles of milk being attacked by birds who were stealing all the milk. Isn't that amazing?
No.
It is amazing.
Not amazing at all.
It is.
How is it amazing?
But because the birds communicated with each other about how to get free food.
Well, of course they do.
No,
They communicate with each other all the time. I watched
No.
a documentary about monkeys actually the other day, which I think was a David Attenborough one.
Yeah.
And he was describing how they had different sounds that they made depending on what they were warning each other about.
Yes.
In whichever jungle environment they were in. And so, for example, if they saw a tiger, they said something completely different to if they saw something which was slightly less dangerous.
You're only endorsing what I'm telling you.
Yeah, but that means that what you're telling me is that birds communicate with each other, which is what we all know.
No, but to spread like wildfire across the country, the information that you pack into milk bottles. Now, in northern Arizona, bald eagles were observed on a frozen lake where a shoal of fathead minnows had frozen to death.
Fathead minnows?
Yeah, fathead minnows.
Sounds like something you call me.
Yeah, it does actually. Had frozen to death just below the surface, okay? The birds pecked holes in the ice, then jumped up and down on the ice to make the fish squirt out into their beaks. It was amazing.
What?
Absolutely amazing. But this is the most amazing one. Listen to this. Listen to how bright birds are. In Zimbabwe, they found a load of birds around the perimeter of a minefield, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Now, these birds...
Well, after the milk.
No. These birds knew that mines had been planted in this minefield because they could recognise them from the disturbance in the soil, okay?
Yeah.
But what the vultures did was the vultures...
What were the vultures doing?
There was a flock of vultures there.
Right.
So what the vultures did is the vultures just perched on the barbed wire fence, right?
Yeah.
And they waited for the gazelles. You know what a gazelle is?
Hang on. You've started with a few birds around a minefield.
Yeah,
Now we've got vultures.
Yeah.
Gazelles. Well, it's not
Listen.
exactly an abandoned minefield, is it?
No, this is incredible. The vultures sat on the fence, and normally creatures warn each other of danger. This is part of the law of the jungle, okay?
Yeah.
You know, if somebody's walking around with a gun, they warn each other and all that kind of stuff. What the vultures did is they sat on the barbed wire fence, they waited for the gazelles to wander into the field, and then they sent out a message to the gazelles to come this way. So they actually lured them in. The gazelles galloped across the field, got blown to pieces on the mines, right?
Yeah.
And then the vultures swept in and they had a ready-made meal. And they didn't even have to, peck their pieces out because the gazelles had been blown to pieces. And so they went and...
Oh, what you mean? So they deliberately didn't tell the gazelles about the minefield?
More than that, they enticed them...
Maybe they didn't know there was a minefield.
They enticed
how
them
about none of them knew there was a minefield, and it just so happened that the gazelles walked onto it, got blown up, and all the birds went, oh, look, isn't this great?
No, the vultures enticed the gazelles to run onto the mines. They got blown up, and in getting blown up, they got blown to smithereens. Therefore, the vultures then had, like, a takeaway meal of enormous proportions. Gazelles are quite big compared to vultures, and that would keep them going... Yeah, keep them going for weeks.
Yeah.
How about that?
Well, how about it?
Well, I think it's just fantastic the way that these things do it.
But like all of these sort of studies, it's all a bit of supposition, isn't it? They don't know for sure that the birds actually planned any of that. They don't know for sure that the birds deliberately withheld information.
No.
They don't know any of that for sure.
Now, just to prove to you that not all birds are bright, I said the emus, didn't I? A bit
Emus.
dense. Yeah. Now, listen, this is what got observed in Australia, right?
Yeah.
The Aborigines, for thousands of years, realised the emus were dumb. I mean, really dumb. So what an Aborigine would do, an Aborigine would lie down in the long grass, but raise his white leg and wiggle it around, okay?
His right leg?
Yeah. And wiggle it around in the air.
Uh-huh.
Now, the emus were so thick, they thought that was some sort of other creature. And,
well, it was, technically.
Yeah, I suppose it was technically.
Well, that's stupid.
Yeah. So
emus.
So what would happen is the emus would then would wander over, okay, go and investigate, and then the minute that they got anywhere close to the Aborigine, he would leap up, grab the emu by the throat, and wrestle it to the ground. Yeah, that's what they used to do because the emus were
not very bright.
No, they weren't.
How
very
did you know
dumb.
they didn't have very big IQs, even though they had big brains?
Because they were.
Who was giving them an IQ test?
What?
Who was giving him an IQ test?
No. You know what I'm talking about. Scientists examine birds all the time. What about this one? Going from that low IQ, the highest IQ of a bird in the world occurs amongst the crows who populate the Japanese city of Akita. Okay?
Akita.
Do you know what they do?
What do they do?
These crows love feasting on nuts.
Right.
But the nuts, of course, they're walnuts, by the way, but the walnuts are very hard shell on the outside.
Yeah.
So what the crows...
Well, most nuts are hard on the outside.
Yeah, that's right. What the crows do is they line up on the road next to a set of traffic lights.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about this before.
And when the cars are stationary, they take a walnut in their beak and put it under the wheel of the car.
Yeah.
each wheel of the car.
Well, they just buy a nutcracker.
They can't use them, obviously. And then they move back, and then when the cars go off, they ride over the nuts and they crack the nuts. So then when the cars have gone, what's left are the shells broken with the nuts inside. And the crows then go back and get the inside of the walnut. In fact, they're eating walnuts.
Right.
It's incredible.
It is quite remarkable.
And they can actually recognise the red light turning to red. That's when they pick up their walnut, and then they put it down before the light goes green again.
Right.
It's amazing.
Well, I suppose they could also figure out what was going on by the cars being stationary. They might not recognise the red light. They might just go, oh, look, the cars have stopped.
Yeah, but they could actually realise that the cars had to stop because the red light was coming. I bet you won't be able to guess how many birds there are in the world, but I'm going to tell you anyway because you won't.
I would imagine billions.
Well, about 300 billion.
300
billion birds.
Yeah.
Roughly 45 birds for every human being on the planet. How about that?
Yeah?
Yeah?
That sounds about right.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing.
It's not that amazing.
Birds have worked out how to open doors in New Zealand by flying around where they break. You know, when a human being walks toward a door and it says automatically opening.
Oh, yeah.
The birds know exactly where the beam is that has to be broken, so they fly towards it.
Why do they want to go inside?
They steal all the food in grocery shops and all that kind of stuff.
Really?
Yeah, and then fly out again. Then open the door on the way out the same way.
I remember when I was at school in Marylebone,
Yeah.
we used to have glass windows on either side. Pigeons used to regularly fly into the window
Oh, they
because
would,
they
yeah.
thought they could fly out the other side.
Yeah, a bit dumb, yeah.
They're not very bright.
No.
There we are.
Isn't that amazing?
Some birds are
Amazing?
brighter than others. A
Yeah.
bit like the human race, I suppose you would say.
Yes.
This is Talk Sport. Time for the Porkyquiz.
God save the Queen, the fascist regime. It made you a moron, potential hate bomb. God save the Queen.
This is the Porkyquiz, and because of all the royal business that's been going on for the last week or so, and the celebrations of the Queen's 90th birthday yesterday,
Yes.
Mr. Parry chose the Queen as his expert subject this week, which I think was a very nice thing to do.
Indeed.
Very loyal of you.
Yes.
Now, questions are as you would expect,
Yes.
with correct and wrong answers. There's no
Yes,
multiple
yes.
choice.
No.
If you get one right,
Yes.
you will hear this sound.
Right.
My first, of course, was Winston Churchill.
If you get one wrong, you will hear this sound.
Mrs. Blair, lovely to see you again.
Now, do you think you've been prepared well enough for this particular quiz?
Well, I think, during a lifetime of royal appreciation, I probably know quite a lot. But, yes, I've been brushing up on the finer detail.
Okay. Are you ready for question number one?
I am indeed, thank you.
Question number one. What was the name of the horse she was on when she was shot at on June the 13th, 1981?
Now, that was in the Mall, and it was Trooping of the Colour.
Yeah.
And
It's one of those ones you either know or you don't know.
six shots were fired at her, towards her, in her direction. But they were blanks, actually, in her gun.
They were.
So it didn't... And the name of the horse she was on was Trojan.
Incorrect.
No.
Mrs. Blair, lovely to see you again.
It was a Trojan horse. Why would you think it was called Trojan?
I thought it was.
It's called Burmese. It
Burmese.
was 19 years old.
Well, that's a trick question, that
No,
is.
it's not.
I mean,
It's
the
one of the most
question's about-
famous incidents surrounding the Queen in
this
her
is
entire
about,
reign.
about the Queen, not the blinking horse.
Well, it's the Queen's horse.
Yeah, but it's not a quiz about the Queen's horses.
Well, you knew all the other details of the story.
Of course I did, because I know the Queen's history.
All right, if you know the Queen's history, you'll be good at question number two.
Okay.
Name the years that she has missed the state opening of Parliament.
What?
Name the years that she has missed the state opening of Parliament.
The only time she was a state opening of Parliament was when she was with child.
Name the years that she has missed the state opening of Parliament.
So those years would have been...
Could be a trick question, of course.
Would have been... Could it be a trick question, yes. Right, could be a trick question. Right, OK. In my opinion...
opinion.
She has never missed the state opening of Parliament.
Incorrect.
No!
Mrs. Blair, lovely to see you again.
Well, you deliberately gave me
No,
a
I
false
didn't.
clue there.
Well, no, I didn't. When it said years, I thought, well, you might be thinking, is it 1 year, more than 1 year? I don't know. 1959 and 1963. Because she was pregnant with Andrew and Edward.
I told you that. I said
wanted
when
the
she was
years.
with child.
I needed the years.
I said with child, and then immediately I said that, and you knew I was on the trail.
Yeah.
You then said, and you claimed that you never give me a hint one or the other.
I can't give you
Of
any
course,
hints.
it could be a trick question.
Well, it could be.
That's despicable.
Really?
I'll tell you what, the audience are listening.
Yeah,
That
I hope
is
so.
despicable.
Otherwise, there's not much point in us being here,
That
is
is
it?
despicable.
Question number 3.
Yeah.
How much does the St Edward's coronation crown weigh?
What?
The St Edward's coronation crown, i.e. the
That you
crown,
put on her head?
The crown that she wore when she was at the coronation.
Well, the coronation...
St Edward's crown.
Coronation took place in 1953, although accession, of course, was 1952. And it took place in Westminster Abbey.
Yep.
Okay.
You don't get any points for any of this.
What?
You don't get any points for any of this.
And the crown
you
is...
don't know, do you?
The crown is heavy. It's heavy. There's no doubt about it.
The crown weighs heavy on... What's that Shakespearean quote?
On
heavy lies the crown or
on
something
the
like
thorny head.
that? I don't think it's a thorny head, no.
So the crown...
What's the answer?
What the answer?
Yeah.
The answer is...
How much does it weigh?
It weighs 8 ounces.
Incorrect.
No.
Mrs. Blair, lovely to see you again.
No, I meant... Sorry, I meant 8 pounds.
No,
I meant
that's
8 pounds.
also incorrect.
No, I meant 8
Mrs.
pounds.
Blair, lovely to see you
8
again.
pounds.
I thought you said it was heavy.
It is.
It's 4 pounds, 12 ounces.
Well, you see, I meant something like that, to
Yeah,
be honest.
I know.
I got ounces and pounds
I
mixed
could
up.
see that, yeah.
These are ridiculous
Easily done.
questions.
Would you like to give me the answer in kilos?
Just get on with it.
Question number, where are we? 4.
Yes.
What is the postcode of Buckingham Palace?
Postcode of Buckingham Palace?
Yeah.
I know this.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. You could do with getting one right.
No, hang on. I'm thinking aloud here. I know the answer to this one.
Go on.
Buckingham Palace does not have a postcode.
Incorrect.
No.
Mrs. Blair, lovely to see you again.
No, that's not right.
See, now you're double thinking all this stuff.
No.
Now you think every question's a trick question.
Well, yeah, because you said
It's
it could be a trick question.
Well, no, but it was SW1A 1AA is the postcode.
That's a
In
ridiculous
case you want to
question.
send
Stupid question.
send a begging letter for your CBE.
When are you going to ask me something about the Queen?
All right, question number 5.
A ridiculous question.
Who was the Prime Minister when the Queen was born?
When the Queen was born?
Yes.
Don't you mean when she first came to power?
No.
Can I
When
tell
she
you who that
born.
was? That was Winston Churchill.
When she was born.
She was born.
Yeah. It's easy to work out when she was born.
Of course it is. It was
Because it
90 years from today.
Yeah, or yesterday.
From yesterday. So, 26. 1926. Well, I'll tell you who it wasn't. It wasn't the Welsh guy who started the First World War. What's your problem?
It wasn't the Welsh guy that started the First
Well, you know
World
what I'm
War.
talking about. He was a mass Rogeriser.
Was he?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking
Well,
about.
the guy with the Rogerisation chair.
No, that was Bertie. He was a member of the royal family.
Well, he became king later, didn't he?
Yeah, he did become king, yeah. Right, I reckon it was, I don't know why in my head I think it's a guy called Bonar Law. Thinking aloud, hang on.
Thinking aloud, yeah.
Bonar Law. Now, of course, I'm talking about Lloyd George, but Lloyd George started the Second World War, the First World War, but didn't finish it. And then Bonar Law, I think, took over. Do you know who I think it probably
Bonar
was?
Law.
Do you know, I think it could have been...
Who?
Could have been the only Prime Minister who's ever been shot. Spencer Perceval.
Who?
Spencer Perceval.
Incorrect.
No.
Mrs. Blair, lovely to see you again.
Stanley Baldwin.
Stanley Baldwin.
Spencer Perceval?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, he got assassinated.
Did
The only British Prime Minister ever to be assassinated.
Okay, 0 out of 5 so far.
That's another bum question.
Question number 6.
Yeah.
Can you name the 6 people next in line to the throne?
Well, sorry, you want 6 answers then?
6 people next in line to the throne, yeah.
Hang
names.
hang on. Excuse me. One question should elicit one answer.
No,
not
it's one
6.
answer.
Not 6.
It's one answer with 6 names in it.
This is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, you might as well say Stanley Baldwin is 2 answers because it's 2 names.
No, it's not.
Well, it is. It's 2 names. I just want.
Well, hang on.
6
The immediate
first
heir to the
names.
throne is Prince Charles.
Yes.
That's the same number of words as the last answer.
No, it isn't.
And that's all you're getting.
No.
Yes,
Well,
it is.
That's not
Prince
right
Charles.
then.
Well, all right.
You need to get the next 5.
Right, so
In order, please.
Well, this is ridiculous.
Why?
Right, Prince Charles.
Yeah.
And then Prince William.
Right.
And then. What are you laughing at?
Your expression.
And then it would be William's son, George.
Correct.
Right.
So that's 3.
So that's Charles.
So you've
William,
already achieved half a point.
George.
Right.
George. Right.
Yeah.
Then
Next 3.
after that it would be Prince Harry. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you agree?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can't give you any clues.
Well, you've agreed to the first three.
The first three I'm giving you half a point for because you got the first three right.
Right, it might not be Harry. I'm thinking aloud. The
next three.
Thinking aloud.
The next three, I will say nothing on.
In that case, I think it's...
I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong.
Right.
Not fair.
Right. In that case, I think it's then William's daughter, who's not called George. George is her brother.
That would be confusing if you called both your kids George.
Yeah, I thought it might have been Georgina, but it's not. It's Charlotte. It's Charlotte, okay? So it's Charlotte.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's Harry. And after that...
I can't say anything at this point.
Hang on. After that, it's Princess Anne. Right?
Incorrect.
No.
Mrs. Blair,
Incorrect.
lovely to see you
No,
again.
you got it wrong. It's Charles, William, George, Charlotte, Harry, and then Prince Andrew.
Well, I got everyone except Andrew at the end.
No.
I did.
You got Harry as the fourth one, and then you changed it to Charlotte, and then you got
didn't.
Princess Anne at the end.
I didn't. I got
You
Charlotte,
got half a point.
Harry, and then
You
Anne.
got half a point. You got the first three right, you get half a point.
I think I got 5 right. I got 5 out
No,
of
you
6.
didn't.
I did.
No.
I did. How dare
Well,
you?
I can't
did.
give you 5/6 of a point, can I?
Well, 5/6 of a point.
You want 5/6 of a point?
No, I want 1 point.
You can't get it.
I want 1 point.
You get half a point. Question number 7.
Yeah.
What is the name of the designer dog invented by the Queen?
Don't be ridiculous. Don't be utterly ridiculous.
I'm not being ridiculous.
Well, I'm not. I'm not giving that
stole my
question
pen, by the
any
way.
credence. Of course, I haven't stolen your pen. What on your pen for?
Well, I don't know.
I haven't got decent pens. That's a decent pen. That's a Waterman. Okay.
A Waterman,
So I keep
is
it
it?
in my top pocket.
Why?
Because I like decent pens. Because I'm a person of class.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, why don't you try and get one of these answers right instead of mealy mouthing about?
Right. I don't know the answer to that stupid question.
Well, okay, you don't know the answer. Is that your answer?
Yes.
The answer is the Dorgie. She crossed a Corgi with a Dachshund, or a Dachshund, as some people would say, and became one of the first people to invent a designer dog.
Ridiculous.
Question number 8.
Yeah.
What was her family name before it was changed by her grandfather?
Wasn't changed by her grandfather. Her family name has always been Windsor, right? Thinking aloud. When she married Duke of Edinburgh, who many people thought was a German, he insisted on introducing Mountbatten into the family name once she became Queen, Mountbatten Windsor. So... And what was the question again?
What was her family name before it was changed by her grandfather?
Family name was changed by her grandfather. So you're saying, thinking aloud here, you're thinking pre-Windsor. Pre-Windsor.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to have to stick with Windsor.
Incorrect.
No!
Mrs. Blair, lovely to see you
It
again.
was Saxe Coburg Gotha.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
That's rubbish.
Not rubbish.
Utter
Question number
nonsense.
9. Where was the Queen born?
Queen was born in Bruton Street in Mayfair in London.
Correct.
Thank you!
My first, of course, was Winston.
Just out of interest, do you know what number Bruton Street?
17.
Really? How do you know that?
Because I've been there.
Do you know what's there now?
No.
It's a restaurant called Hakkasan.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Very good.
Question number 10. You're looking at 1.5 at the moment.
I'm
Could
two,
get 2.5.
two.
By what name is the Queen known in Papua New Guinea, where she is the constitutional monarch?
Thinking aloud. In where? New Guinea?
Papua New Guinea.
Big Mama.
Incorrect.
No.
Mrs. Blair, lovely to see you
Known
again.
as Mrs. Quinn.
Mrs. Queen.
Yeah.
No. Well, a load of stupid questions there, I'm sorry. I mean, I could have told you all about where she was when she took the throne, treetops in Kenya. I could have told you about the history of the Duke of Edinburgh, what he did during the war, his war record and all that.
That's not the Queen.
I could
It's
have,
nothing to do with him.
I could have told you loads of things. Could have told you about when her children were born. Could have told you everything.
Yeah.
Could have told you about her mother.
Yeah, he could have done, but that wouldn't be about her either. 1.5 out of 10. Pretty
No.
miserable for a man who claims to be the great royalist. This is Talk Sport.
From Becky, our friend Becky. She's saying, name of Queen's horse, weight of the crown, postcode of Buckhouse. Porky has been royally stuffed Weak as horribilis.
I don't understand why you wouldn't think that they were questions about the Queen.
I could have told you about her Anubis horribilis.
Anubis what?
Anubis horribilis. You know, Annus horribilis.
Annus horribilis.
Yeah, that was 1992.
Yeah.
And do you know why?
Yeah, I do know why.
Well, because her daughter got divorced.
No, she got separated.
Anne got divorced from Foggy.
Yeah.
And Fergie got divorced from Andrew.
Yeah.
And Windsor Castle went on fire.
It did.
Now, if you don't,
and Charles and Diana separated.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did.
That was 97.
Yeah, no, they did.
No, they didn't, honestly.
Anyway, look, 97 was when she was killed.
She was killed. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
A bit more permanent, I'm afraid.
That's right, yeah.
Well, I mean, people are moaning and groaning about the fact that, these are not questions about the Queen. First of all, as I have to say ad nauseam every single week,
yes.
Basically, I do not set the questions, okay?
Okay.
Now,
who does then?
The independent invigilators.
And when are we going to be able to meet these people?
They have to remain like the people who audit the Oscars and who audit all ceremonies which involve awards.
Yeah.
They can never be found out as to who they are.
Here's a typical one from Moz.
Now, the state opening of Parliament, right?
Yeah.
That's about her.
Yes.
She didn't go to the state opening party. That is about the Queen. The horse that she was riding on, which was a massive story at the time and still figures as part of the massive history of the Queen, is about the Queen, right?
Yeah.
How about the crown? The crown that she wears is about the Queen.
Ridiculous.
The postcode of Buckingham Palace is about the Queen. Who was Prime Minister when she was born is about the Queen.
No, it's all rubbish.
For people to say
questions.
that somehow it's not fair is a nonsense.
Well, why are you defending the questions if you don't set them?
Well, because I'm saying the questions are set by people who set them in a fair and open way.
Well, you need to have words with them.
The ridiculous moaning and groaning that you go on through has obviously rubbed off on some of the more gullible members of the audience who seem to think that you're being hard done by.
As Moz says, good name, Moz, by the way, he says, I think you need a new man to set the questions. Porky was robbed tonight, OK?
How about this one from DJ Brizey? Are you sure Porky didn't research the Queen, the group? Shocking display as usual. Straight off with his head, ma'am. No EBE, no OBE for Porky.
Asnalona, quite an exotic name, but it relates to Arsenal Football Club. Are there any questions about the Queen in the quiz tonight? You've been framed, Porky,
I've just addressed
by that rat Graham.
All those six, for the first six questions, and I'll read the rest of them back to you if you want, were all about the Queen. All of them.
Thomas says, it's clear now that MG is ruining the quiz every week. Not one question about the Queen so far. Utter rubbish.
How is there not one question about the Queen? How is a question about the Queen's horse not about the Queen?
Yeah, for the record, Spencer Perceval was assassinated in 1812. That was about 100 years before the Queen was born. Yeah, that's true. Thanks, Ian.
So you were reasonably close then.
Yes, exactly, yeah. Gutted for Porky, says Andrew. MG, unreal. This quiz is supposed to be about the Queen, not the weight of her crown. I mean, I've got so much sympathy from the listening audience,
Well, sympathy's all very well, but the trouble is you don't know enough about the subject, and so therefore you don't get any questions right.
I knew plenty.
You got 0 out of 10 last week, you got 1.5 out of 10 this week, so you effectively got 1.5 out of 20 in 2 quizzes.
No, I'm sorry.
Which, if I were you, I mean, if anybody wants to give up on the quiz, I think it should be you.
No. I will never give up on the quiz because I will prove that in the end I have fortitude. There's a chap here who's written a book, right?
Yeah.
And he says, we are going to become famous because he's written a novel called Prose Home Movie. It's a strange sort of a name for a novel. But he says, a man refers to listening to the 2 mics on the radio.
Oh, really?
That's pretty good,
We'll have to
isn't
get hold of the book.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, make sure you keep that one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you screen grab the tweet? Do you know how to do that?
Screen, no, I don't.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, leave it where it is.
Yeah,
and we'll get our executive producer
to
screen grab it for you.
Okay, excellent.
And then we'll be able to research it and maybe get the guy on.
Yes.
Now, before we do anything else, because it's such a massive weekend and we haven't got an awful lot of time left, we do need to get your verdict on what's going to happen. Crystal Palace against Watford, Everton against Manchester United, of course.
Yes.
I need 2 predicted scores from you.
Everton will beat Manchester United 2-1 at Wembley on Saturday night. I shall be there.
You will?
And
don't get into despair if it doesn't happen.
Well, it's...
I know when you're being grumpy on Monday.
It's a very emotional time.
Yeah, I know when you're being grumpy on Monday.
Yeah, when we start our new programme.
Yeah.
And as for the following day, I expect Crystal Palace to beat Watford.
Yes, you've been saying that, haven't you?
Yeah.
Now, at the weekend as well, we've got, I think, 7 Premier League games, some of which are more important than others.
Yes.
I'm just going to quickly rush through them all to get your scores.
Yeah, go on.
Manchester City against Stoke City.
3-1 to Manchester City.
Well, Stoke need to do something about themselves, but I don't know if this is going to be the time. I think I'm going to say 3-0 to Manchester City.
Okay.
Next up, Aston Villa against Southampton. Now that they've gone down, of course, Jolie Lescott says the weight has been lifted off their shoulders.
Exactly.
Maybe they'll finally win a game.
No, Villa 0, Southampton 2.
I will say 0 1. Next up, Bournemouth against Chelsea.
Yeah, this is my sticking my neck out one. Bournemouth 2, Chelsea 1.
Oh, really? Oh, that is surprising. I think I'm going to go Bournemouth 1, Chelsea 2. And then Liverpool against Newcastle.
Yeah, humiliating.
Rafa returns to Anfield.
Humiliating return for Rafa. Liverpool 4, Newcastle 0.
Blimey. Yeah, well, I think Newcastle are looking a bit better. I'm going to go another draw. I'm going to say 1-1 there.
Okay.
And then coming up on Sunday, the big one, Leicester City against Swansea City.
Yeah, Leicester 3, Swansea 1.
Really?
Yes.
See, I think that's going to be... I think Swansea are going to beat them.
No,
I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to go 2-0 to Swansea.
You're willing ill will on Leicester. It's not good.
I'm not. I'm just trying to predict the score. Sunderland-Arsenal is the earlier game.
Yeah, again, I think it's going to be a shock result. Sunderland 1, Arsenal 0.
You really?
Yeah. I think Sunderland will lift themselves out of relegation, but Newcastle will fall further into it.
I'm going to say it's going to be 2-1 to Arsenal.
Okay.
And then the final one is Tottenham, who play on Monday against West Bromwich Albion.
Yeah, West Brom are looking appalling. Tottenham 5, West Brom 0.
5-0. I'm going to go 3-0. Okay, well, we'll enter those into the system.
Yep.
We haven't got very much time, but we will do this, and then we will give you our final verdict on the week,
yes.
I suppose. Coming up next on TalkSport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. And, of course, all next week we are going to be on from 1 to 4 in the afternoon, filling in for Hawksby and Jacobs. So I'm not quite sure what we do about the clips of the week, but we'll find out in the course of time. Here's one from Matty, who's tweeted at the Two Mics. Porky is a hypocrite. He said Moz was a stupid name last night. Now he's saying it's a good name. What a plake.
Well,
Which is it?
No. It's,
is it a good name or a bad name?
Well, it's there's good Moz and bad Moz. Put it that way.
Moz says this, funnily enough. He sent this along. Winners are not people who never fail, but people who never quit.
That's right.
I think it's quite true, isn't
it? Thank you. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah, totally agree.
So here's one from John, who says, Stuart's inquiry required into the question-setting process, but that one is answered in turn by Steve, who says MG says it's legitimate. Stuart's inquiry completed.
Oh, no, it's not. No, I'm not sure it's legitimate. You know, I want to get to the bottom of who sets these questions.
No, I don't think you should, because the problem is that you have, by your own admission, spent your entire life cheating, using any unfair advantage you can to get on in life, right? So if you were introduced, for example, to the people that set the quiz questions, you would probably bribe them, throw money at them to make sure that they gave you a copy of the questions so that you'd know what was going on.
How dare you try to sell my character like that?
That's exactly what you would do.
How dare you?
Now, here's one from the Reverend Davey in Canterbury. Guys, check out Genesis. He means the Bible. God made birds the day before us, so they can't be too far behind our level of intelligence.
Yeah. Hey, guess what? Yudi Manyahim was born 100 years ago today.
Was he?
Somebody just sent me a note.
Yudi.
Happy birthday, Yehudi.
Did he have a pet emu?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. Don't forget to follow the Two Mics at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.
Sinead O'Connor.
Who?
Sinead. Sinead O'Connor. Sinead O'Connor. Sinead O'Connor. And I also now can firmly predict that Everton will win the FA Cup.